Good morning. Change the headsets. Actually, there's no one home right now. I'm gonna leave it that way. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good
Trying to get
morning.
there. Where is my
Let me get
screen?
All right. So, Mark, I got your message from this morning. Thank you. And yes, that's wonderful. I understand. I'm so glad to have you in class and how well things are going for everyone. Julie, I also got your message. So if you want to share your screen, I can help you with that while I'm letting people in. Can you hear me? Julie?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Okay,
No, that's
here we go.
called you again. Yeah. Hi, Amy. All right. So right now I'm just seeing your browser, right, that launched, and then on the bottom of your screen. So we were trying to figure out how to open our applications, and I'm seeing down that in your dock, right? You look on your dock, I'm seeing that you have the VR for Bridge, Photoshop, AI, whatever. So you're saying when you click on them, they don't open?
No, they weren't there this morning. I
Oh.
opened up two documents in Design and Illustrator, and that worked. But as far as the bridge,
Having them down.
yeah. I just couldn't find them. I couldn't find them in my files. I couldn't find them.
Yeah, so here's the thing. When you try to open programs on on a PC, if you haven't made them stay in your dock, which it seems you haven't, then the only way would be to go over to that search bar that you have there on the far left and then write the name of the program. But once they are open like they are right now, since you have them open right now, go and hover over each one and do a little right click, and you can say pin it to the taskbar. Give it a little right click, and then I'll say pin it to the taskbar. There you go. And do that to all of them. So then next time when you close them, they won't disappear from your taskbar. Right now, when you close them, they disappear from your taskbar. So now they're not going to anymore. Now they're going to stay there. And right click. Yeah, there we go.
Okay,
And you can.
thank you.
No problem. So now they'll always be available. Otherwise, if there's any other app you ever look for, you have to go to the search bar right there on the left and write their name, and then it'll appear. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Or like you did, you'll open from Bridge, open a file made in Illustrator, and it'll open Illustrator. Open a file made in InDesign, it'll open Design. But yeah, you have to have access to even at least one to get started. So yeah,
Okay.
great. I'm glad that helped. All right, so let's see who else is joining us.
Just leave it on. That's not gonna put me.
Hi, Deirdre, and hi, Shelley. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and change some names. I was noticing when I was doing attendance that I'm forgetting and having some people just leaving their first names. I was so good at it at the beginning, and sometimes I forget. Here, I'm gonna change yours, Mark, but if anyone else has just their first name, like Deirdre or Monica, can you please change and add your last name to that? And if you don't know how to, I can do it, but otherwise, there you go. Thank you, Deirdre. And I think Monica's working on it. I was just working on attendance and all the paperwork because it's like end of the week, end of the year, and I have so many at the same time. And I get started on this one, and then I began to notice first names, and I'm like because on the official records, if it just says one name, especially when I have two Monicas. Okay, when it's with a K, it was with a C, but the whole point is that when I submit the records, they're like, oh, there was only, which Monica was there, for example. But okay. All right, so welcome. And we're going to I checked out the Padlet, and what you guys have been doing is all the posting all the things that are actually part of the classwork. There's not much there different or special. Like sometimes people post work that they're doing, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Sometimes people post things that they're working on and whatnot, and so that's really good to show that. But I did post something like someone hold on. Oh, this Shelley's second computer. Here we go. let you get in. All right, so, let me go to this thing. All right, but, I noticed that some of you did, catch up on the specs, that you went and looked for some, different printers and posted their specs. And hopefully that's an eye opener for you guys too. For example, had you tried to, I'm assuming that had you tried to do this before you took this class, you
Dana?
might have.
Kenna, you're
Yeah,
showing us your bridge screen.
oh,
No, your Photoshop screen, actually. Anyway, we are not seeing your Padlet.
okay, so let me go into my Zoom and see what's. Oh, you're right. And I'm seeing it, but you're not seeing it. There you go. And there you go. That working now? You're seeing it now? Okay. So basically the same thing that you guys have been putting up some good catch ups on the printers and some other work catching up from schoolwork. The one that I posted last night that I'd like you guys to maybe see if you can just look at it or maybe download it. We're going to work on this today, is this TriFlow brochure layout. So right now, just watch what I'm showing you. Give me a second. I have to modify the position of this application. And there we go. Let me go back out. Here we go. So we're going to be using a we're going to make this template. We're not going to use a template that exists. So this is just a view of it so that you guys can understand. And we're going to be working on a trifold brochure today, applying some more of the things that I need to teach you, plus everything you've been learning to complete this. But the brochure can be designed in two different ways. You could either take it as 2 pages, as this one, with guides for the folds and margins and bleeds, or sometimes people actually make it as 6-page document where they do page 1, 2, and 3 together. Yes, you can do that. You don't only have to have facing pages like 2, 2, 2. You could have this be individual, like a pullout, an accordion, and it would be many pages, but they'd be in a different, position next to each other. So right now we're just still going to go with the more simpler way of designing this, which is up and down. But there's a little bit of a trick to this. It's not necessarily divide the page into 3 parts. Otherwise, we could have done the good old columns like we did the other day, 2 columns, and we just get a gutter. We could have said 3 columns and get 2 gutters. But the problem with brochures, have you ever opened a brochure? And if you have a piece of paper nearby, a printer paper, you're welcome to go grab one, an 8x11 or any piece of paper, no matter what size. When you try to fold it 3 times, one piece goes inside of another. And if the 3 pieces were identical, then the inside one would be kind of folded over and the top one wouldn't necessarily cover the top. You know what I mean? Because you'd need to make a bit space for that bend. Same with greeting cards. If you ever look at a well-made greeting card, when it folds over, you'll notice that the front cover is just a tad, a hair bigger, like I think it's a 1/16 of an inch bigger than the back and stuff like that, because you don't want to have the fold, again, kind of like the bleed. If the fold happens in the wrong place, if they don't do it exactly right, then you end up with something that the top is shorter than the back. So you give yourself a little bit of that leeway. Machines do the folds too, as much as they come and cut out the bleed. They also put the papers through these machines that make it bend or fold over right there and then fold over right there. And so, yeah, they might make a little bit of a mistake and go a little bit further or let around, right? So you're going to hope that you can't plan for that too much. Hopefully you're with a good printer who doesn't do too much of that. But that said, we have to design it a little bit differently. And also the whole brochure itself kind of throws you a little bit for a loop, because you're designing the front cover at the back end of the page, right? And the back cover is the second one, and this would be the inside flap. So I would recommend, if you have a piece of paper somewhere, go grab it. I in fact need to go grab mine because I left it in the kitchen. I'm noticing it's not here. I was bending it around last night. So let me go grab it. Be back in 1 second. Meanwhile, everyone go grab, even if all you have is a Post-it note, you know, just a piece of something that you can bend. I'll be back in a sec with mine. All right, so no, I do not live in a mansion. My kitchen is not that far. It's just that I couldn't find it. Someone must have thought it was trash, so I grabbed an empty piece of paper. I'm like, what? Someone cleaned up this morning. I don't know what they did, but never mind, because then I'll do it together with you guys. So I'm gonna grab this piece of paper and I'm gonna fold it 3 times, right? Just go ahead and oh, let me explain what I'm doing. Sorry, let me explain to you what I'm doing first. When you design an object, a shape, a project, anything, unless it's something that's very clearly one side or the other, you need to create mock-ups to really see where things are going to be. And so a mock-up can be this, you know, very complicated kind of thing, or it can just be a paper that you make it do and fold it into the shape you want. And this is one of the simplest folds to do. Because then you visualize what and where things have to be. So I'm going to do my best to kind of fold this 3 times. Let me stop my share for a second. And if everyone's doing theirs, please, you know, maybe put them up a little bit so I can see that it really does matter. It's a visual situation, which doesn't otherwise get worked on. And so now I have it, and in a way where, yes, this little this flap opens up and then this flap opens up. And then mine was already written down, but now that we did this that's in front of us that open, and this could be folded in trifolds in many different ways. We're folded in that way where you open the inner page, right? So then this becomes the front cover, right? So grab a piece of paper, grab a marker on your paper and write the front cover, right? FC or whatever, front cover, right? And then turn it around, and that thing that's in the back is your back cover. Right? Front cover, back cover. Then when you begin to open it, watch for a second because people are looking down to their paper. So look up for just 1 second. When I begin to open this, I end up with 2 pieces, and that I see. One part that I see is still part of the front page, right? It's the last one, and that's my inside flap, we call it. Okay. So but it's from the front cover inside flap. And then this is part of the inside, right? So this thing is my inside flap. And then, so now I have front cover, inside flap, and then I have my 3 pieces. So this is the one, right? If I look at the 7, that's my inside panel that if I design it, looking at it, it's going to be on the left side, right? So it's my inside panel A, but it's also the one that when you design it, kind of, you need to be aware that it's going to be viewed with this panel. So a lot of people are going to stop right there, and these need to somehow match or work design wise. because people are gonna stop right there and before they open it right there, right? And if it's not interesting enough, they might stop right there and just put it down again. If it's a good one and they wanna know more, they'll keep opening it. But this is important too, to have it look good with that. So now I'm gonna put inside panel A. And I'm gonna write visible, you know, in the middle or something like that, visible when I open. And then the middle one is inside B, and then the farthest one is the inside C. And I'm doing it so fast. So when I open like that, this is my inside panel A. I was a bit messy. But this is the one that I see when I open. So I wrote inside A, open. And then at the very end, I see the last two. So these are the ones that you want to keep information there that needs to be read. But if people get to it, because they really need to know where it was happening. But really, the information that people need to see has to start here and then be in these two. And then the last one, of course, is the back cover. And depending if this is going to be mailed, then this is where you put the stamp and the address, so it might be blank. But if it's just going to be there for you to pick up from someone's counter, then you can have information, you can add stuff there. But let's say that this one's going to be mailed. So then here, let's write stamp and address, right? That kind of thing. So that might be where that information goes, a little stamp. Not always, as I said, many times they are both ways, but if you have a possibility that you're going to be mailing it as a one piece with a little piece of tape, that's where it would be. If it's going to be inside of other material stuff, you just print it, or as I said, if it's in, in your counter at your office or something like that, you can actually use that back panel. So now when you open it up, right, you have a better idea of where things need to go. And what I was saying about size, this is a very thin piece of paper. It might not be noticeable, but this little flap, the one that has the inside flap or the panel C, has to be a bit smaller so that it fits in there. And then when I do that, this covers. And in fact, even in my little mock-up, I didn't do it right. And so out of my front panel, it's kind of a little bit smaller than my middle. See, and you don't want that happening. You always want this one to be a little bit over, a little bit bigger, just a tad bigger, right? So now we're gonna build our template, keeping an eye on that information. I wish it would be and when you look, that's one thing I was looking at, templates that people download, and so many times they're just divided into 3. That means I haven't really printed one of these and seen what happens, because if you divide it into 3, you don't get a good fold. It just doesn't work. You end up with the front cover kind of folding out like that. And that's just not good. If you can avoid it, do it right. Cool. Before I share my screen, any questions about the labeling or all of that? Y'all made it work. And that's why I said, even if you have a little piece of Post-it note or so, if you have the actual size paper of what you're trying to do, you can visualize even better. But definitely you want the shape. I think earlier on I had shown you opened up products, and I don't know if I still have them here. But if you ever open up a box, so this is like a little headphone box that I just bought a little headphone, and this is a thing that was a sheath over the container box, which is over here, right? And so when you take it apart and you do like this, you'll notice that it's got the flap for the glue, the back, the little side, the front, and then the other flap. But notice that whenever you design things, that sometimes you write things upside down. So this will be looking down. If so, then that will be what technically looks like upside down, or the other way around. So you wouldn't design it like that, because then you fold it, it doesn't make sense, right? Same with boxes. Now, this isn't really a printed one, but if you ever have a box, a cereal box, whatever, take one apart, and you'll notice that when you do take it apart, right? So you're going to write on it. You're going to write, and you're going to say top, when it's still closed, and then you'll say bottom, right? And then you'll say right flap, right side, you know, left side, the spine, right? And then front flap. And then here, this will be either it goes inside or outside, or maybe it's the glue, you know, whatever it might be that attaches them. And then when you pull it apart, the reason you do the writing, not only to know what they are, but also so that you'll know that if this is looking, if this one says top, the way you can read it, then the bottom is going to be on its same side, but then the spine's going to be backwards, right? So you have to set it up first so that you'll know what order things have to be created in. So, so you create your little mock-ups, not for them to be perfect, but to have the same positioning as the one you're going to do. And then you'll notice that there's all these little internal flaps that need to be part of the document and all that kind of stuff just to make it work. But maybe the barcode has to be in the bottom back, and so it's going to be upside down to the way you do the front and stuff like that. Okay, that was just a little mini primer. I don't know how many of you guys are going to be doing packaging design, but consider you might be doing, you know, little, if you have your own business, you might be doing little gifts or giveaways to your customers, or you might be putting things out on a bag, putting stickers and stuff like that. It might be one panel, but if you ever start working on bigger stuff, the mock-up is truly important to tell you how the folds are going to go, where you're going to have to design it, what touches what, and then when you go what touches what upside down, which direction the text has to be written in. In the brochure, it all goes in the right, top to bottom. Okay. So hopefully you'll go and start tearing some things apart just for the fun of it and looking at these things. When it's already printed, right? If it's a cereal box, you'll see the upsides and downs and stuff. But if you're doing the mock-up with a paper, you'll have to write the parts and pieces yourself. Okay, so that's what this is. This is the outside of the flyer, and this is the inside of the flyer. So when we look at this, we're actually going to be designing the front cover right there, right? And that's the inside flap, which needs to be seen at the same time as the inside panel A, right? So that's kind of in the little piece. This will be visible with that. So you just need to keep those things in mind. And sometimes when I'm designing, if I really want to see if they work, I'll take, like we're doing for Padlet, I'll take a little screenshot of this panel, and then I'll take a screenshot of that panel in Photoshop. I'll put them next to each other, and I'm going to see how the design is working, because I can't on the computer make them work, right? But I can do it this way. So that's one of the few advantages. If you do have the 6 pages instead of 2, and you divide each one as its panel, you could temporarily drag that one next to this one to kind of see how they continue and then put it back. But if you ever have photos that cover both sides, then that's kind of an iffy proposition anyway. The best thing is to just, I do screenshots, I put them together, and I go, oh, it looks like this text has to be a little bit higher. Maybe I forgot my guides, or, oh, red and pink look horrible. Let me put red and orange or something like that, right? Things that you might have not thought about. All right. Okay. And then the next thing you need to do is create your guides, because this is going to just be a big old piece of white paper. And for us to know where to design, we're going to have to set up these 2 guides. And the question is, where do we set these guides up? Now, I already am giving it to you measured, but sometimes you might have to create your own mock-up, the correct one, and actually measure that way. Hopefully not. Many times when you're creating a product, you've already talked to the printer. The printer who's going to do it is going to know. They're going to give you the template for them and how much glue flap they need and how they create it. And they might send you the template of how the shape is going to be, and you just fill it in with your material. Other times you create it. So always be in communication with your printer. Again, when I say it this way, I'm talking about printer company. Okay, so if we can't divide it easily into 3 parts, then if someone has did the calculations or stuff like that, I'm going to tell you how much distance, but this here is a clue. We're going to put this guide at this distance at 3.625, and then at 7.313 of the document, we're going to put the second one. which is gonna mean that this flap is gonna be 3.625 big, and these two are gonna be 3.875 big, right? So they're gonna be just a tad bigger than this one, which is the one that's gonna be on the inside both times. And then when I design it, oh, I did something wrong. I was doing it upside down. Yeah, no, that's fine. I was confused. The visible part will be the panel A, but the one that's going to be small is the inside panel. See, for a moment, I thought I had told you that the C would be visible. No, this is the back side of this, right? And this is going to be the one that's smaller, and these two are the ones that are bigger. Okay, so if you want to download this just so that you have it as a reference, go ahead. You can do that, but otherwise you have it right here. And if you do want to download it, you can just click on this little guy right there, on those three little dots, and you can just download the attachment so that you have it as something that you can have. I mean, not right now, you're not gonna need it because we're gonna talk about it, but that's the one that I posted there for your stuff. Oh, let me give you guys the link to the Padlet in case you haven't put your stuff in there yet. Here's the Padlet link, and everyone head over to the chat if you haven't yet, which I haven't, and give me a little show of life on your chat. There you go. I just said good morning. And now let's go back to InDesign. All right. And in InDesign, this is me in InDesign. I already have it open, and I was playing around with some different templates that I was going to give you. So let me actually start from the beginning again. And then we're going to talk about master pages. We're going to do a couple of different conversations. So let's start with file new, Command or Control C, Command or Control N. I'm going to say print. And it's going to be a 9.5 by 11, but piece of paper, but this means that it's in the portrait format, and we want it landscape. So either we type in 11 by 8.5, or we just click on that so that it flips. Because that's the basic, the first one that shows up on its own. We're going to have 2 pages. It's not going to be facing pages, right? Because we don't need the spreads. Turn that off. Each one is going to be an individual page. And then we're going to have a 1/2 inch margin, is a pretty safe margin. Oh, there you go. And yes, we're going to do some bleed work here. So we're going to click on that once, and it'll be 125. Okay. Again, if you like, I don't look at the preview myself, but if you ever want to look at it because you might not sure if it's looking good, you look at it that way, and it's not done yet. You could still change something, for example, here, and I'm going to make a whole 1 inch bleed. It would show you that you're doing it that way. I'm not, going to, but there you go. And once you have all these settings, before I move on, I'm going to want you to watch again. 11 by 8.5, 2 pages not facing pages, and then 1/2 inch margin and 0.125 bleed. The 1/2 inch margin is the default one that comes up. Sometimes people for, actually, I'm thinking that we might end up with actually 375 or even as little as a 1/4 inch margin, depending on how much information you need to put into it. Let's go ahead and go with a 1/4 inch margin just to make something different. Let's go with that. I would probably put a little bit more normally. I like, and space is good. Let's go back. I'm trying to think. Nah, it's okay. 1/4 inch is better in this case. It depends on your design, right? But I'm going to start with that as a design. All right. And now we'll say create. Now, if you had already said create when I was going between 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch, you can go and modify that by going back up to the layout, which is the part that I can't show, layout, margins, and columns. And then over here, if you had left it at 1/2 inch, right? Because that's how, when I said that I was working on it, then you can just go back down and put it at 1/4 inch. But in this case, the default is not linked, right? So you have to link them so that then you'll make this be 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever you want, and then you'll bring it down. Okay, just showing you that this would only happen one at a time, but if you click on it to see the full link, then it happens at the same time. Usually our margins are not necessarily the same way. Many times we have a smaller margin and the top in the bottom versus the top, or vice versa, or left and right if it's inside of a gutter. So this isn't necessarily always all the same, but it does happen that in this case, it's going to be all the same. So that would be a way to do it. Now, this is where had I said 3 columns, right? If I say 3 columns in here, then if you look at my design, it's like it's automatically doing its thing. It's given me the 3 boxes, but this is the easy way out, which ends up with a possibly bad looking design where the front cover is going to end up being shorter than the inside flap, right? So we're not going to do that, but what we are going to do is create the middle lines, which will be the fold lines, but then we're still going to have to create the gutter that goes on both sides, but we can't do it automatically. We're going to have to do it with guides. Okay, so anyway, we're not going to put these columns here. We're just going to go down to 0 and we're going to say okay. If you had changed it, but I'm just showing you that it is all changeable over here. All right. If you're with me, no questions, it's all going well, give me a yes. If you need to catch up, have a question about something that isn't working, raise your hand or give me a no. All right, I'm seeing yeses for the most part. So let's continue. So if you remember you know what, since I'm gonna have to be using the top panels a lot, if this is uncomfortable, I'm gonna just bring these things up because I hate having these little hanger-oners. Give me a sec. But when I'm doing this, I can't see because of my light, the top. But then you can always get you don't know what I'm doing, but never mind. I'm moving my programs around in my computer so that I get access to, when I share, I don't have to keep moving it out of the way. Whenever I share my window, there we go. So now if you didn't download that, then I'm going to go back here. I have it already kind of set up so that I can show it to you guys. And what we're going to look at is these numbers, 3625, 7313. So that's where these guides have to be, right? And then we're going to have the second page is going to have the guides a little bit shifted over because this is the one that has to be smaller and these two are bigger, the same to each other, but bigger. Then this one is smaller, the same to each other, these two, but bigger. So we have to put the guides in a different place. We can't like use the same guides for both. So since we're going to have different needs from the front and from the back, we're going to have to create guides separately. Now, I have something I haven't shared with you yet. And this one that's already there is a thing called master pages. When you look at the pages down here, because this isn't what our pages looks like now. Yours don't have the guides yet. There's something up there that says master pages, and I don't know if it's big or small or whatever, how much we see. Now, the master pages here is a place where we can put our guides. If we were to have, many more pages of this, it would be a good thing to use a masters. For 2, we probably wouldn't, but since I won't have a long document to show you this, I'm gonna give you an example of how to use a master page on this document. So here's our trifold brochure. So let's go ahead and save it. Go Command or Control S or File Save, and let's call this one Coffee Bean Trifold. And I know, Monica, you created a nice little logo last time we did this with the same images. If you have other images you want to use, but I'm going to use the same photos this time for this one. But if you have your own material, you're welcome to use it. But push yourself to make something different. I'm sharing how to do this a little bit differently the last time. Last time we did a postcard with the beans, when we were with you. So this is making a trifold. All right, trifold brochure. And we're going to say save. Now, what we're gonna do here, Moni, did you also do the coffee beans postcard? Okay, yeah, you're two are in the cusp, but so we're gonna use the same source material, creating a different product. So over here, we have the place where we need the guides. Now, hopefully you are seeing your rulers. I think in InDesign, the rulers appear automatically and the others you have to turn them on. But perchance if you're not seeing them, Command or Control R shows us the rulers, or we go up to view and we can say hide or show rulers. We really want to see the rulers. Now, I'm going to show you how we pull guides out. So if I want to pull a guide that's, horizontal, then I put my mouse here in the ruler, click and drag out, and lo and behold, a ruler comes out, a guide comes out. I'm going to undo that because I want to show you something. See the pasteboard over here? If I want the ruler, the guide to be inside my paper, I pull it out from there, it stops right there. Sometimes though, I have things hiding and I want to kind of see where I am in the whole document because I might have something here on top and the ruler isn't visible. Then if I pull it out when I'm pointed over the pasteboard and I do that, then the guide continues into the pasteboard. And I find sometimes that is good because if at some point I'm not seeing the guides and I want to just see them, then I can see them in the pasteboard. Some people think that that's messier. I think that when they're in here, they're perfectly fine. I prefer to pull them out from here. But the only difference is which side of the ruler I'm pulling from to have it continue into the pasteboard or not, okay? So I don't care what you choose, try one or the other. And then to make a vertical one, we're gonna go and pull from here. And again, it stays inside, or if you pull it from up here, then it goes outside, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and pull mine from there. So now, let me see. Yeah, Deirdre, when you Deirdre's asking about, oh, you said it to the question to me, but not to the class. So let me explain. She's asking, aren't there templates that show this already? Yes, 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 of course. You're going to be creating a whole bunch of different things, and you're always going to be welcome to use the templates. But I'm teaching you how to set up a template, a basic one, and then, in the future, when you're on your own, create your own or go to online and find out. But notice that over here, two ways. Here you could say, find more templates in Adobe Stock, right? And you can say trifold brochure, for example. And you say go, and it'll take you to is it sharing my screen? Nope, it's taking me to my browser. Anyway, it goes to the internet. Oops. It's taking me to my browser, which it's not sharing right now. And then you go get that, but you have to sometimes pay. You get 10 free brochure, 10 free things from Adobe Stock, whatever it might be. And then after that, you have to start paying. So instead, you can just go online and start searching. But let me actually, when you don't have anything open and you open, I already have something open in here, but if I go into Photoshop, for example, and I create, say, file new, right? One thing you'll see, oh, I guess they're not showing up right now. They show you the template. Well, aren't these guys showing me templates, or is it, when you say create new, when you first open up, they have the templates. I'm not seeing them. Oh, here we go. More templates. I haven't seen it. So you can go there, and then you have pre-made templates. Okay. And you'll see that a lot say free. And then when you start looking for more, you'll have to pay for them. So the ones that appear over here, for example, are free. So if you find something here that you want, you open it from there, and then you just start replacing. So she was asking, isn't there a template like from Canva or something like that? Yeah, you can do that. And replace them. But the whole point of learning InDesign or Illustrator and all these files is to be able to go beyond the basic templates that you get in Canva so that you can do things the way you want them. But that's not to say that the templates Canvas have aren't wonderful, and for a basic brochure, they do great. But they don't give you all these lines and all this information and all this stuff that we're doing right now. So what I'm teaching you with one, how to set it up correctly, and then you can practice when you need one. Like, for example, I went online to find this for you guys, because I didn't have one made. I have a whole bunch of templates that we've been using, but I didn't happen to, I looked around, I didn't have didn't have by 11 trifold brochure template. So I just went online and I searched templates. You need to know which are the good ones, which are the bad ones. A lot of them just come with an image of how it has to be, and then you have to still recreate it. And others give you the full on, you know, InDesign template or something like that. I find that for the most part, I prefer to set up my own templates, but I'm very happy to inspire myself on something that exists over there. I just wanted to say that basically we're just creating a new document and we're putting two guides in the middle. So as much as I'm trying to make it more complicated, it sounds more complicated. Once you do it once or twice, you'll get it and you'll understand why we do the process of doing mock-ups, because you just want to print it out and fold it yourself once you've designed it and see how it looks. You wouldn't just print it out and send it to the printer. You would, you know, you would go to your own little printer, print it out, even if it's in black and white, fold it, prepare it, and see it. So why not do it ahead of time with a blank piece of paper just to see it? So these are all steps that you're going to follow anyway, right? Even if you do it in Canva. Anyway, yeah. So the guides, even in Canva, you need guides. If you move outside of their template, the way their templates are set up, or any template that's set up for you, has already been figured out. So if I go to Bridge, remember we opened this one the other day. This was a template, okay, set up by someone. This is the one that we used the other day. I'm just going to say okay to all that stuff and skip. But this one, someone already set it up in such a way that things are aligned to each other. But when whoever designed this, right, I'm going to go ahead and see the guides and all that kind of stuff. So whenever this was designed, let me zoom in. These rulers that see in the back, those are the grid lines, those are the things, these two have to be lined up to each other. So whoever designed this brought down a guide to make sure that these two were in exactly the right spot. Then you just can take it out again. Like you build things with guides and grids just to be able to see how to do things. Always, it's the way you would do it. Even so, but to template, they did it for you. But how would you know to put this in the same exact place as the one that's in here, so that when you fold it, they touch, right? Because that, when you do the flap, that yellow bar is going to happen to be in the exact same spot of this one, so that when the fold happens, right? So you can only do that if you measure it using guides and stuff like that. Or how do you make sure that these four all start in the same place? Well, you'll pull out a guide from here and you do that. So then when you do your text, you'll join it to that. So this is just one of those basic things of creating something that, yes, when you actually go and notice those check marks start at exactly the same spot as this. It's not coincidence. That's to make things work within a set of guidelines that you set up to make it then look, you know, people don't see that. They just look at it. It looks like a well-designed document. They just look at this and it's good. But if you really pay attention, you'd notice then that that's already been set up so that it's on the right side and things like that. Or this over here ends where, you know, this text over there and the bottom ends where the bottom ends. So anyway, that's kind of the decisions that you need to make sure that things have a consistent look and they look professional. You want to make sure that things line up. And the only way for you to know if they line up is by creating these guides. Anyway, so guides are kind of essential to anything that we make. So if we're going to create this first one, and I told you that the first one, we're going to set it up at the 3.625, and you can just measure, you know, the pieces in your mockup if you don't know where to set it up. Or you can divide your document by 3. And then if you take a little bit out, what you add to the others, you know, math, whatever. You end up pulling out the calculator all the time and I'm designing things. Now, the important thing to know is that the size begins from the trim line. This is what we're going to see. You don't measure the bleed. So if you look at where it says 0, if I put my mouse here on this moment, see how there's this little dotted line that's going back and forth? It's where my mouse points on the ruler. So when I point to the margin, it should be at the 1/4 inch, because I asked for a 1/4 inch margin. Here's an inch, here's 1/2 inch, here's a 1/4 inch. And yes, when I point at the margin, that line shows up at the 1/4 inch. If I point to the trim, that shows up at the 0, okay? It doesn't, 0 is not the bleed is extra. So this is 0, because this is what we're gonna see. So we need to have a guide that stops at 6 point, what did I say? I'm sorry, 3.65. I'm sorry, 3.65. So I'm gonna grab a ruler from here, and here I go 3, 3.5, right? 3.5, 3.5, 3.6, 3.7. So if this is 3.5 and this is 3.6, 3.25 will be right in the middle. You see what I'm doing right there? I'm kind of using my ruler right there. If this is 3 and this is 4, and it's divided into 8s, and this is 5, this will be 6, and this will be 7. So in between these two, there I'll have the 3.5. And notice that next to my mouse, you see how I'm getting that little X thing that's giving me numbers? I'm seeing a 3.625. You see that little number? And I can't point to it because I need to let go of my mouse. But right next to my mouse that's putting this cursor, I'm seeing the X changing. So when I see it read 3.25, that would be a good point to stop right there. See how now it says X colon 3.65 inches and my mouse in the right place? I let go. That's my, oh, did I say 3.65, not 3.625? Sorry. So I can grab it and move it again. 3.6.
Diana,
There we go. 3.625. Yeah.
I don't see the numbers when I drag that guideline around.
Okay. Check and make sure that you see your ruler. Oh, you mean the numbers that are appearing next to my mouth that say 2.1?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I'm wondering. Here's something called guide options. No. Do you all not see them? Maybe your smart guides are turned off. Do y'all see what she's talking about? How my mouse is calling out some numbers when I click and drag? Is that happening to other people here? Y'all see them? Huh. Why would you? I don't know why you wouldn't be seeing them, Julie. So this is not something I know how to fix. I'm wondering if it's something that has to do with some setting in the preferences. Let me go and see if I can see.
Just a
There's
quick,
the grids and guides here.
okay.
The preferences. It tells me what colors I want snap to zone, and then 4 pixels. Smart guides are on. Grids. I wouldn't know. I'd have to.
So you, just a quick question. So you, when you got up there on that ruler, you clicked on there, is that right?
No, yeah, you click and drag to pull out a
Okay.
guide. You
Okay,
drag.
maybe I didn't click right.
Yeah, because that's the guide that you're moving is this thing that you can then grab and move again. And if you don't want it anymore, you just select it like we just did, and then you hit the delete key and it goes away, right? So say that you don't want this guy anymore, when you're touching it, you click on it and you hit delete and it goes away, kind of like an object, right? And if I do
Okay.
undo there, so when you have a guide in your hand and you're dragging it around, that's when you see the numbers. Yeah, I didn't think of asking that. Not if you're just pointing. You have to be carrying your guide around. Okay, for it to be working. Now, that said, if I were to have made a little box, right? And I can't just you don't need to do this, you can just watch. But if I were to have made a little box and I'm just carrying it around, right? I'm also getting those numbers. See over there how it's telling me that I'm putting it in a certain space or not. And if I look at the numbers here, the numbers that are being counted is the top left corner. So that's the top left corner that's being referred to. So if I do this, it's telling me that this is at, if I want to put this starting at that line, I would have to go ahead and move it, and I would have to stop when that number also says, over here I have the X and Y, X and Y coordinates. And it's going to go ahead and I'd have to put the center, that little center point of this document right there. That will say 3.25 or whatever it is that it's going to say right there, right? So anyway, right now we don't need it, but yeah, whenever you create a shape, it also tells you its size and its positioning. All right, so did you manage to put a guide at 3.625, everyone? Let me clear your answers from before. If you put a guide at 3.625, that's good. I'm going to tell you a cheat. Right now, I know because of this and because of the calculations that the second one has to be a 7.313. But what this document doesn't say is that the second, what the size the second one is going to be. And when there's other templates, are you seeing this that I had? This is an example of a template that I opened, but this is a template that I downloaded from one of the printing things, which is a little bit more explanatory. It says already front cover, middle panel, short panel, folds in, short panel, middle panel, left panel. And here they have a sample of a stamp. So this one tells it to you, but this one isn't really a template. It's just, they dropped in a drawing that says that. If I go over here and try to look at the guides or whatever this is someone wrote this and put it in here. And if I move it out, it's just a painting, like a drawing of it. See what I mean? The guides aren't really there. Does that make sense? So this is an example of a template that I downloaded. We said, don't people like make their templates. This was called a trifold template from Vistaprint. I think I got this one or something like that. And this is just a drawing, the same drawing they have in their website that says this is your guide or whatever, but it hasn't set them for me in the document. So what I need to do then is go down here and read. And basically this space is going to be 3.625 big. This one is going to be 3.6875 big, and this one as well. But it doesn't tell me the distance at which to put it in. So a lot of the times, this is what you end up with, these numbers, right? So yes, this might be a bit too technical, but just showing you how a template might normally come without the guide set in there to help you. So then when you hide this to start designing your own, right? You go over here to the things and you just turn off the template so you can start designing your own. Lo and behold, it's empty, right? Like it doesn't have. So this is, by the way, a specs template versus what you were asking for, Julie, which would be a template that already is ready to go for you to, like the other one that I just opened, this one that I just opened, with this one. This is the kind of template where they give it to you made, right? And then you just select this photo and put yours, select this one and call it, you know, coffee beans, select this and copy. So this is a pre-made template that you just replace with your stuff. And this is what Canva does. And this is fine, but it's limiting. What if you have less text than that or more text than that? What if you have two photos you want to put in and not one, right? So the limitations of these are when you don't know what to do, it's great. It gives you a guide. But when you want to move and change things, you're set into that kind of thing. The other kind of template you can guide is the specs template, like this one that tells you kind of where to go and how to do it once you know how to do it. If you get this one because you want to design your own design, then you have to set up your own guides. Okay, those are the two kind of templates you can get: the ones ready to be replaced, or the ones where you get the sizes that your printer is going to tell you this is how I print. They're going to ask for this much. Then you kind of set it up here. All right. So here's my thing. If I know, which I did from this, that probably from, where's my, sorry, now I lost my, did I close the wrong one? This is not the one I wanted. Let me close this one again. Don't save. Okay. Since I know from here that let's just do it that way. It's 7.313. Let's just do that. So we're going to go over here, and also from the beginning, we're going to take a guide and we're going to go over here to the 7 and then 7.1, right? This would be 7.2. So it has to be in between those two, 7.1. And then I start going to the right a little bit. 7.2, 7.21, 7.26, 7.3, 7.316. There we go. So between 3 and 3.2. It's somewhere in between that, right? So you're not going to be exactly precise, but anyway, that's good enough for now, because it's we would always head towards the slightly bigger number, and that's my 7.23. Oh, 313 is what it was, right? So then if it's 313, then we should round down to 3.1. 3.1. Okay, so now I don't like setting my second one like that. I'm a visual person, and I might have not been able to figure this out by numbers unless I was really good. And I also want to test these to see if they're right. So I'm going to give you a tip of how I test this supposition, because the numbers that I'm going to get, if I divide it by 3 in my computer and then I take 1/8 of an inch out in my calculator, I'm actually going to get the final number of what this will be. I won't get the line telling me where this guide should be. So I'm going to actually always, I make rectangles. So I'm going to go down here to the rectangle. So just some tips about how to create a template in an easy way. Get my rectangle tool and I just make a box. And remember that we found out that this box has to be, now you can't see it because I moved it. That this has, move it into the white again. This has to be 3.625 and the other two have to be 3.68725. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to make a box. Instead of pulling and dragging it and trying to figure out what size it'll be, I'm actually going to simply click. And when I simply click, then I can make things exactly the size I want. So this is what I'm going to write, 3.625 on the width. And I'm going to give it some inches. I don't know, maybe 1 inch, 2 inches. I don't care how many inches the width is, but I want to give it an exact size. I'm going to say, okay. So here I have a box. That's the one that's supposed to fit exactly between the opening, the trim, and my guide. And so I can see if I truly did put it in the right place. If my guide ends up being a little bit too far, and this, I did make it be 3.625, then something's wrong. And if I look over here, it tells me the size of this box, the width is 3.625, right? So that's good. It tells me exactly what I need to know. Now, that's just to confirm that I'm doing it right. Then the second box had to be 3.6875, 3.6875. So once again, I go over here and I click and I write 3.6875. And I say, okay. And so now this one, I go back to my selection tool. Oops, sorry. This is the one that has to be, how am I getting my move tool? I'm going to move this over, and it's easier if you actually give them a fill and stuff like that. So this is the way to go, but now I move it over here. And this is my next one. And I'm going to go check and see if it snaps exactly. And over here, what I'm seeing is that it's snapping. See, it does this little pink snap to that guide. And it's a tad off on this one. And you might want to zoom in. And remember that this was, I had put it at 3.2 instead of 3.12. So I can then grab it and I can help snap it to that, which might give me a more precise guide. And then this one has to be done twice. And so this one I'll copy paste, or if I hold down the option key, I get a duplicate. Ow, I'm not liking that I'm getting that line. I should be getting just the move. It's kind of like it's preset and the, oh, because I've got the number 1 for the, I'm sharing my screen. That's why I don't like to have this up there. I was getting the white selection tool. Okay, and now I'm gonna create my duplicate either by holding down the option key and pulling out my duplicate, or just copy paste, right? And then I get my second one here and I put that one here and I make sure that it goes exactly right edge to edge, right? And so then that's how I check that out. And now the whole point of why this is good is because now I can take these 3 downstairs, I'll copy, and then I'll paste them here. All right, I have to be on in my second page. I'll repeat this, put them down here. And then I'll know that it needs to be inverted, like this one needs to go there and this one needs to go here. And then I don't have to measure these anymore. I just set them in a row in the right place, because this is the one, and I could have put the name on it. This is the one that's the 2.75, and these are the 2 that are the same. I just put them in the right place, right? I just do that. And then I just bring out the guides and snap them to the middle. And boom, there you go. I didn't have to like precisely measure those. So I'm a big fan of making boxes to help me with templates, because then I don't have to be like going around making that.
Diana?
Yeah.
My page is somehow not on 0. The whole page itself.
Yeah.
How would you move that page?
Yeah, if you drag, because sometimes you just want to measure from here to here, right? You want to see if this from here to here is right. So you can go to this very corner of the ruler and you drag out and you move this here and you drop it right there and your 0 moves to here so that you can start measuring from here. Or you move it over here so your 0 starts measuring from here. So you probably did something like that. So if you were to just go to this corner and just double click, then the 0 goes
Oh.
back to its
Okay, that
place.
worked. That worked.
that's
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a trick to show you guys. If for any reason your zeros aren't the exact right corner trim, you from here drag, and I do that all the time. I want to measure, is this exactly the right thing I need? And so I'll do that, and then I'll put my mouse over here and I'll go, yeah, this guide is supposed to be 2 inches in. How do I know what's 2 inches in from this column? If I don't have my 0 set at this place, then I know that this guide isn't in the right spot for the twin. Does that make sense? So you move your 0 around as if you were to put your ruler here and measure 2 inches from here to here. You can do that on a piece of paper. Here you move your ruler, you set your 0 right there, and then you know that if this guide is supposed to be, you know, a 1/4 of an inch from that, then that's how you do it. And we're actually about to do that right now to create our internal margins, right? But I'm gonna have you guys do it in a minute when I make sure that you all have your top and your bottom guides set up. If you have one of these kind of brochures, that templates that gives you the sizes, we'll know that then this is the one that's 3265 and these are the 2 big ones on the second page. So then I can also go to one of these kind of brochures, which tells me that the numbers now are different. To set the guides from the 0, then this would be 3688, the first guide, and 7376 the light. So the templates can come in both manners, and you can learn to read them according to how you need. If you're going to set the guide by hand, you need this number, 3688. So I'm going to go now to my second page and check and see if this ended up in the right place, 3.688. And so now I'll go over here, 3.64, 3.6. And by the way, when you already have something there, I'm going to move these out of the way. It's a little bit harder because the ruler wants to strap. So 3.666, 6.8, and it's almost 3.68 is pretty much 3.637. I'm going to drop it there, and then I'm going to go see is that how I had measured it? Is that right? And I do that, and yeah, looks like that was the right place for that. Okay, and then the same for the next one. I'm not going to bother to measure the second one. So I like this method of making boxes. I find that these boxes are hard to see if they don't have a fill. So I kind of like to give them a fill sometimes, but not pink, because pink, blue is the same color as the guides. So I'll go with like pink, which is obnoxious, and I'll never design anything with this color. So I know that this is a measuring box. Okay. I usually make them thinner. I make them just like a line, that it helps me just measure things. Right, so then those are my 3, and you might even put the number in them if you need to use them a bunch of times. Now, well, oh, these guides, I brought them in from the inside of the body, I noticed, instead of from the outside. So I'm gonna set it right there so that I have it going out instead of it having be just on the inside. I just forgot about that. Okay, how are we doing? If you have your 2 pages set up, let me just move this over to the end, the 2 different templates. If you have your 2 templates set up, so the guides will be a little bit off because the front and the back one are in different places, okay? Let me clear my answers and give me a yes. The yes, do it again because I didn't do it right. And then here's my filled ones with that. And again, I usually make these in. Just that's just these are the things that I invent. And the other day, you know, you start working, you discover shortcuts. And so I carry these around with me. I keep them on the pasteboard. That's why I might number them. I might write the size, and in case I'm gonna need it again, I'll just keep it out there to know that this is my small one and this is my big one. I don't need to have 25 of them, but I'll know in case I ever move my guide and I'm not sure if I did. I'll just go, oh, let me go this one. And I go, no, it's still fine. It's snapping correctly. You know what I mean? And then I can get rid of all the rest. Yeah, because I didn't need them anymore. And now there we go. I have my top, my front, and my back page, and these will be my guides for if I ever mess up and move my guides by mistake. Now, we can do something about that to not move our guides by mistake, right? And I'm going to show you now in a minute. But I'm only seeing one yes. So before I show you how to lock your guides in place or whatever you're gonna do, I first want to get everyone to this point, okay? So how can I help? Because I'm only seeing one yes, so. Monica, oh, Shelley said yes.
Almost finished, almost finished.
Deirdre. Whew, no, Deirdre. To Deirdre's question, again, I'm kind of going back to it, not to harp on it, but yes, it's definitely good to know where to find your templates, or you're going to make a calendar, right? Do you want to sit there and create all your little boxes and this is for each month, or do you want to just pick up a calendar that looks like what you want and design into it? So a template is going to be much easier. So I'm not saying that, you know, many times you're going to have to make your own. And if I, as a design job, I was actually, I was a packaging designer in one of the companies I worked for. I had to create my own templates. But most of the time you'll pick up some template and work from there. The thing is that I want you to learn how to work from this type of template that gives you the sizes, and not so much the type that has it all laid out for you and you just replace, because those are the ones that are limiting. Because if you move anything out to accommodate for your text or whatever, you probably aren't within the grid and the guides, and when you're done, it'll look kind of okay, but not really, because you moved things off and you didn't know why, because you didn't have the guides to tell you where the text should fall and stuff like that. So this gives you, you're learning the program, right? As you work with it more and more, you become more comfortable, and then you begin to make your own templates. Right now I'm guiding you into making one, but it'll be a while before you can comfortably make your own. But now I'm giving you the tools of how you'll make it. But yeah, you'll probably start with pre-made templates quite a bit until you feel comfortable enough to make your own.
Hey,
Diana,
so-
I have another question.
Sorry,
Sorry.
Diana.
I was talking to Deidre. Let Deidre finish. Yes.
Yeah, so I don't want to belabor the point, but I'm just wondering, because I'm not a graphic designer, I probably don't have the time or bandwidth to learn this level of intricacy, but I do need to make a report for my company. So are there templates in this tool that are already like designed for that?
No, you have to go outside. You can go to Adobe templates and pick it from them, but they don't incorporate them into the tool. That's the whole point of Canva. It just gives you the pre-made templates, but then InDesign, you create things from scratch, right? You can open templates that other people give you, or, you know, when we went to the printers, you download their templates, but you don't have the replace kind automatically in the document, okay? Let me just say one more thing. I'm going to close my InDesign right now for a second, completely. So I'm gonna not save my panels one, just save. When I open InDesign to start with, and I'm gonna now might need to share again. So now I'm restarting InDesign. But I need to reshare this because you don't have that as part of your share. So give me a second. When I just started InDesign from scratch, I'm in this page, right? And the welcome and all that kind of stuff. And over here, it shows me the things that I've been working on recently. But over here, it's got presets. And I believe if I click on the presets, it gives me, nope, it gives me template. No, it still sends you there. They used to have some templates right here, and that's why I'm looking for them. But no, it really does make you go here. So you have to go to find what template you want. And then yes, and in the Adobe stock, right, you'll find them. When I'm going to show you today, so let me open the things that I had open so that I can get going. But I'm going to teach you today about libraries, right? And then in the libraries, you can search Adobe stock. So I haven't yet shown you libraries, but if you see something that's next to the properties as the CC libraries, over here I also have a search Adobe stock. So over here you can look for a trifold brochure template. So you can do that, which you have that handy. And here it is, it's giving you a bunch of templates. So here it is. The first one is a trifold brochure template. Now these are the kind of thing you're looking for, which are going to give you something completely ready to replace. And you go, okay, I like this one, I like that one. In your case, you said it was a report. So what kind of report? Do you know how you're going to format it? It's going to be 2 pages, 8.5 by 11. Do you have any idea what you're going to design?
Yeah, it's gonna be like an end of year report, so it'll,
So here we write report, and there we go, annual report, and it just giving you all these different examples, right? And say
Okay.
that say that you like this one, or that one, or that one, right? And these are all, part of what you can, you can put it in the cart, but you would have to pay for these, right? So you can first test them. As I said, with your account, you get 10 things from Adobe Stock for free. So at first these would be free, but say once you choose one and you want it, then you can pay for it. So say that you decide, oh, I really like this one, right? And so you click on it, you save a preview. I'm not ready to pay for it yet, right? So I click on this plus sign and it gives me a preview right there, okay? And so now I'm gonna go ahead and open that. And I haven't yet shown you how to use a library, so I'm going to give you a second there, but there it goes. I just opened it, right? And so it's opening it in this place here, which is not the right size. And then I can inspect it and I can go, okay, so would this format work for me? If I put my logo there and my headline, do I like it? The colors I can change. Is this going to work? If you like it, see how it's just a look at it, right? And it says Adobe Stock, Adobe Stock. And if you decide this is the one I want, you go, okay, let me find out how much it costs. You talk to your company, whatever, and they're not expensive, but it's worth it. And then when you say okay, and you pay for it through the libraries, then it becomes active with all the guides and all the pages. And you just go in there and put your own chart. You go in there and put your own information, right? And stuff like that. So that's how you would do templates in InDesign.
thank you, that's super helpful.
Okay. I guess that one was an Illustrator template. I didn't ask because it opened up an Illustrator. Okay. So yeah, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about libraries today, precisely, and just your libraries are probably empty. If you have something under libraries, it probably says start with new libraries or something. And we're going to do that. But right at the top is the search. Okay. And that's where you can, if you're outside of it, right now I'm searching inside my libraries, but if I'm outside of that, then you can be in, you have all different libraries, Adobe, Color, brushes. These are ones that I've been setting up and creating. So you don't have any of that yet. You'd have that. But over here, I see 2 stock templates that I've downloaded at some other point. Now these are ones that I have already, that they're licensed, right? And so I have them here and they're now something I can use for free because this one is licensed. This one, yeah, this one is licensed, but it's old. It's not supported in design. This one is I've designed it, downloaded it a while. This is probably a Illustrator template. This is one that is a menu. So you go in design. Okay. So, or just go to adobestock.com and you sign in with your account, your pipeline account. You go in and you look at them and then you see which ones are available, that you have many more than what I just showed you. Yeah. Moni?
Just out of curiosity, so when I was putting my guidelines, I can't get it to exactly the 7313. I can do 7312, or I can do 7315, but I can't get to the 3.
Yeah.
Is there a way to type it in?
It is and it isn't. When you zoom in really, really, really big, it becomes a little bit easier. And,
okay. Well, I am pretty big, but
so I'm zooming
anyway.
a ton. Like I'm really zooming in, and then you get in there, and then you can go to I don't know if I opened the right one, but 7.3. Oh, this is probably the wrong page. 7.3. This is the one. Did I open the right one? This is the one that has to be 7.3. Yeah, 0.3, and then over here you have 7.313. There, I made it. See, when you're near enough, now I'm at 73.12. That's fine. That's near enough. I'm going from 0.12 to around 4. But so the closer the zoom, the more you zoom in, and I'm zooming in at this point to 600%. I keep zooming in and zooming in and zooming in.
I'm at 8. I'm at 800%, and I'm still. It goes from 1.
Yeah, so
it jumps over the 3. It goes to the 3125 to 314.
Yeah,
So-
so from 313 to 312, which is what it's jumping for me. It's not, it's negligible. There's nothing that will ever,
Yeah.
I'm going to. back
Okay, I
that
can
that'll
do
let-
3125. That's as close as I can get. Okay.
No, I'd be able to get to more than 3125.
I'll try it again. I'm at 1200. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, I got
Um,
31. Okay, I have to go to 1200%. Then I can do it.
Yeah, you go to the top, you get to the point that you get really close and then you get down to those little like barely like no one's
Okay.
not even an ant's leg is gonna be that big, but you can get to that number.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank-
All right. Um. By the way, here I had this guide selected right there. And it shows me that it's 7.314. And so I can go ahead and put it in there. What was it? 3135? What was it supposed to be?
31. Well, I was still working on the front 7.313, and I didn't mark what was the inside. So
Hit return, and that moved it to exactly 313. So you select the guide, right? And then you go over here in the properties of transform and you put it, if you're
Oh.
at 6, so you give it the right positioning here on the X.
oh, perfect.
So
Okay,
do it.
that
So
makes it
you
easy.
You can zoom in, or you can go and put the numbers in there and it'll jump. So if this was supposed to be 7313, I think it was a bit more 7313 something. If I go ahead and move it around and I can't tell, I'll go ahead and type in that number again and I go tap, then it's going to jump to that spot, right? So yeah, you can put the numbers in there.
Okay.
I was telling you how to use the rulers because the rulers we're going to use for so many other reasons. But yeah, you can, everything can be done either but dragging around or with exact numbers. All right, Julie. Your hand is up.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's-
So I've got two questions. One, oops, where'd the screen go?
Oh, I just
Uh,
share for a minute. Sometimes when I talk to people, I like to look. Do you
Sorry.
need to see
Uh,
my screen again or not?
Well, all I'm seeing is Julie Mercer in great big letters on your screen.
Mhm.
I've got two questions. One, I forgot how to, so my text box is not quite the right size, but I forgot how to select it so I can change that. And then the second question is, I've got the rulers or
Okay,
the
so go
yeah,
ahead and share
the-
your screen because you're talking about things that are happening in yours. I need to see it. So just go share your screen so that I'll know what's the.
oh, jeez. Okay, so right here,
Mhm. So
I need,
well,
how do I select that box again so I can change the shape?
okay.
So I can't,
Your mouse, see, this is an empty box. It has no fill, so you need to touch the edge of it. So go ahead and go touch the actual edge of it. Yeah, and then you can click and drag it around.
okay. Okay, then the
It's
second
easier if
question,
you go, it's easier, especially if you want to move it out easily, go over to the properties panel where it says no fill and give it a fill, and then you can grab it from anywhere. So down, 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 a little bit more where there's like a forbidden, up, not so far down. Somewhere in the middle, you see a white box with a line crossed over it that says like forbidding. Yeah, down, there, up, you're above it, a little bit higher. That's the appearance panel that you put the fill for the stroke, right? So the top one that says fill is white with a line that says no fill. So click on that. Yep, and give it a fill. Choose pink. I choose pink because it's always like shocking and I can't make a mistake that I left in there. Now you can grab it from anywhere because once it has a fill, it's solid. You can grab it from anywhere to move it around. Okay. So
okay,
like if you grab it from the handles, you change its size. But if you grab it from the middle, you can move it, right? So yeah. So your size has to go not from the margin, it has to go from the trim side. So you need to put it all the way on the place where the white begins. That's, yeah, there. And now you can drag it over. And hopefully that's the right size.
Okay.
But I don't know, you go look up at the top of the properties panel and it's telling you that this is, I can't read it exactly, but it says it's 3 point something. Do you, well, I want to make sure you're pointing to the right thing. Go to the properties panel and there it is, the width and the height. Yeah, those are the positioning and there's the width. Go up, one up. that says that it's 3.58 or something.
Yep,
Um,
3.58.
So now you can go in there and tap in the right number. It's supposed to be, I don't know, whatever it's supposed to be, 3.625. And then hit return. And there you go. That
Okay.
that shape now has exactly 3.625. And so if you look
Okay.
at it, you'll see that your guide is a little bit off, right? So go grab your guide. Go to your guides. Yeah. And maybe not from the document, not from the box, because then you might move the box. Go up to where the guide doesn't have box, higher or lower. Yeah, the guide is the blue line. The guide, no, that's the box. The guide is the big long line that we put in there to tell us to end. So go to that long, move to the right, about an inch to the right. That's the guide, yeah, that. So grab that one and make it snap to the end of this box that now you know is exactly 3.25. There you go. So now your
Okay.
guide is in the right spot. Does that make sense? Because there's this tool that all of these programs have called Snap. And when you are within the edge of something of a certain distance, it snaps to it. So when you're, did you notice that when you go there and it kind of goes flip, and it just jumps to the right spot, it snaps, right? And so that's telling you that you got it in the right place. Now you
Okay,
can make the next box, you can make it the next size, which is 3.675.
Okay, could I
then-
ask the second part of my question first?
Mhm.
The guidelines, they're not in my second page. Did you copy those or did you just physically do
No,
that on that
Because
page?
they have to be no, they have to be in a different spot. And that's the part that I said I'd repeat to do it again. So
Okay,
first get your first set up and then I'll show you. I'll
okay,
do again the second.
I can do this while you're working, while you're gone.
Yeah, go ahead and do it because then I can show how to, until you have the first one set up, you can't set up the second one, right?
Okay,
So hold on. Let me show you. I am going to now share to do that. I'm going to share my screens. Here we go. Back to InDesign. So if I don't have the second one done yet, right? And all I have, and here I have my boxes and I have made this one. This is kind of where Julie is. She made her first box, put her first guide. You put your second one in there. If you want to know if it's correct, make your second box the right size, and the right size for this one is 3.6875. And I like to just, you know, make any box a box by clicking and putting the number right there, 3.675, right? So you just do it the right size and then you don't have to question. Then you position it next to this one, right there. Then you know, and you look and see whether this guide is right or not. If it's not, you just drag it around until you get it to hit the right spot. Okay. Once you have those two, so that's why I said make your second one, make sure that guide is good, right? Then you can proceed to do the two bottom ones. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete the two bottom ones as if they're not done yet. Right. So give me a yes, everyone, if you have this set up. Right. I'm going to I did the wrong thing. I have to look behind my light. Okay, so if you made the first two boxes, that gives you the two guides for the top. 32632 625 and 36875. Then you select these two, you copy them, Command or Control C. You go all the way to the second page and you paste them. But here's the part that I want to be clear to don't do anymore and listen for a second, because this is inverted. In the second page, the small one has to be this one, okay? So I'm going to grab this first one and put it here. And this is where I need the big one to be and the second one to be, and then I do that. And so I make that guide and then I make the second one, right? And then I make the next one. So I'm going to actually delete them again. And I'm going to put them from.
May I make a suggestion here to make it a bit more visual, to either make one of the boxes different in height or different in color, because then that way it's clear that what they are.
Yeah.
Because
Great
right now
point,
they
yeah.
look very much like similar boxes
I'm
to
so
me.
accustomed to that you're right. I'm so accustomed to it that I don't think about it. Yeah, make the small one color and the big one another color. That's a perfect thing. Because yeah, I'm visual too, and to keep track of them, you're right. This is my small one, this is my big one. And if I want to make sure that I made them the right size, I go up here to this width over there and I say, yep, it's 32675. So now when I copy them, thank you, Monica, for that, and I paste them down here, right? Then I know that I have to invert it. I need the pink one to hit that trim right there. And then I grab a guide and I drag it right there. And remember how I showed you how to invert the zeros, and then I snap this one to this, right? And I'm doing it from afar. You should get close to make sure that it's perfectly correct. And I do that and I snap, and then I don't have to measure. And that's good enough. I mean, that's down to the less than a millimeter, right? Less than a 16th or 19th, whatever of an inch. So that's fine. But what I wanted to say is that if I want to ever double make sure, because I'm measuring backwards, this comes in really handy. I'm going to grab my 0 and I'm going to drag it over here, and I'm going to set my 0 in this line. So now it's going backwards, right? And then I can go over here and hover over this line, and I can see that it is measuring, but is it 36181? So I didn't totally exactly get it there. So I'm going to select that, and it should be minus 36125, right? So I'm going to do that, and I can fix it. So minimal that you won't notice, right? And that gives me that guide. So we're going backwards. I'm using the ruler backwards. So it's at minus that amount. And I click on this one here. It will be at minus 3, I think it was 313. I hit return, and then I get it exactly right, and there you go. So now I have my bottom guides, but they're backwards to the front ones, to the ones in front, okay? Yes, I see who's Shelley.
Can you just quickly say the measurements for each panel? I'm confused now.
Let's do this. Let me make a big 3.62. Oh, I didn't bring out a text box. Sorry. This one has to be 3.625, and I'm going to make this much bigger. That's this one. And thus this one. And then this next one is going to be 3. Forget at this point, 785, I think. Let me 6875. 3.6875. I hit return. So the blue one is 3.875. Supposed to give you guys a break. And so this one has to be 3.675. And then this has to be repeated over here. Right? And over here. Brilliant idea on the colors, Monica. Thank you. Okay. Does that help? Sometimes I go, okay, there's a few of us and we're working well. I'm going to give you something a little more challenging. And I go, I want to get to other stuff. And I'm sorry if it was a bit too challenging. I don't want to scare people away. And the last thing I want is you to think, oh, this is not for me. Maybe this was a little bit high level for, in design 101 kind of thing. If so, let's do what we can and move forward. It's okay if it's not exact, you guys. You can design this at being exactly in the middle at this point, and it won't make a big difference because we're not really going to print it. But you got the idea of what you need to do. But I'm going to throw in one slight more measuring guide here that's going to be important. And that's the fact that, and let me just go up to I'm going to leave this here in case you're looking at it, but when we put information in this brochure, we have a margin here that tells me I can't go put my text in this margin or in that margin and that margin. But see how there's nothing marking my margin here? So I need to make that little box to give me space in between. So if this is 1/4 of an inch, which we did make it 1/4 of an inch, visually, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to bring up another rectangle that if I want to be exactly 1/4 of an inch, I'll click and I'll make this one be 0.25 made by 0.25, right? And make it exactly a box of point. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Fill it again with pink, or let's do a different color. Fill it with green. Okay, and I'm gonna choose no stroke so that it's more precise. Cool. And then I'm gonna go grab that and I'm gonna put it right here so it spans both sides. Because I want 1/4 of an inch, which is gonna give half of it to one side, half of it to another. And then I can snap another guide to that and to that. So this is my fold line, but this is my margin. And I'm gonna leave this much space empty before I start writing on this side again. Does that make sense what I just did? Now, when I have to write something, some text or pin in a photograph, if I put in a photograph right there, and let me just bring in a photograph to make it very clear what I'm doing. And we have one that has a lot of fill. Okay, so I'm bringing in this image there, right? If this is text, then I want the text that's going to be in this one. It's going to go from here to here. I'm going to make my little 1/4 inch guides there. So I'm making a 1/4 inch guide where half 0.125 is going on each side. So then this box is going to go from there to there. And this box is going to go from there to there. So basically, if I have a photograph or text or anything that I do, this, and that, and this is my content, right? Because what I want, and I'm just showing it to you in this case so that you can see what's my content. Now, if my photo is going to go and be as big as 2, that's fine. But this is where I put my text. There's going to be a space between them. This is what we call the gutter, right? This line that we've been so painstakingly placing is the fold line. But you can't write to this fold line and then write to this fold line because your text would be touching. So you need to leave a little internal margin, and that's the gutter between the 3 columns, right? And so I measured that I want that gutter to be a 0.25, and then I drag another little guide on each side of that. So that when I do put my stuff in here, I won't be putting text against text. I'll have text up to here and text up to here, and I'll have that little empty space like that between them. Does that make sense? So basically, I made a little 1/4 inch box, floated in between, right on top of the guide that I had made, right? I'm gonna go do it in the bottom now. I'm gonna bring the same little guy there, copy. And I'm gonna paste it in here. So I'm gonna put it right there. Looks like I have 2 guides in there. And I'm gonna grab one guide and have it touch the edge, and the other have it touch the edge. And I'm gonna grab this one and put it right there. And then I'm gonna have it touch the edge and touch the edge. So now I know where to write from to here. I'm gonna get rid of one of these. And now I can design within from here to here is where I'm going to write, and from here to here is what I'm going to write, and from here to here is what I'm going to write. Let me just say, and I'm going to, if you want apologize profusely for making this more, not making it more complicated, but maybe I'm working at a level that maybe you're not yet there. If I had created a command new and I had said, give me 2 pages and give me 3 columns, and the gutter is this size, say that I make the gutter be 0.25. This is kind of what I'm doing here. Say that that's what I'm doing. And I say, okay, create, right? Then this would have been created for me. I would have had the outer margin is 2.25 and this is my gutter. And so I would have, I write from here to here, right? I'm gonna put placeholder text. And I write from here to here, right? And then the same thing over here. But if you notice, it's because the fold is different, it's a different size for this one. Whoops. And then I'm going to write from here to here. So this is what we'll put that little box in there, right? And then the guides that we put in the middle would be right there. That would be the fold lines, right? So that's kind of what we just set up, only we moved them a little bit so that the fold would be perfect. But this is it. The idea is that you have these 3 boxes giving you space in between them because you don't want to be writing, okay? And this is basically what we just did because we don't want to be writing meanwhile, you guys should be working on the other one, but because we don't want to be writing, especially if I do block text. Right, so this is to give you an example of how big that's going to be. Text is going to be from there to there, from there to there. And then once again, from there to there. Because you have, I'm just trying to point out why this gutter, right? So that the text doesn't touch each other. So this is the internal margins is what we just created. Does that make sense? That's the line that I'm making you guys make a little square box to draw a line to there and to there represents that space. That's a break. So we just did the same, but we gave it the right sizes. Didn't want to put text in here because I've got my sizes, but basically I put this here in the space of text, but I could instead fill it with placeholder text. And then I don't need these anymore. These are just for you to show you what this guide, what this space is going to be. It's that. This could be photo or text, but I'm going to respect it. Because if not, I can't write without seeing it. A picture can break the margins. A photo, I can decide that these two are going to be much smaller, right? I can have them both be that big. And then I can bring in a photograph that's going to go from here to here. I can do that, right? I'm going to put in a picture in there. Let's say that I go, I was trying to find the one. I don't know if it's big enough. So my photo can cross and not use the gutter. See that? But my text needs that gutter. Does that make sense? So that's kind of what we're setting up right here. The space to respect if we have text. All right. I think that I've left you all kind of like numb, and I'm going to learn from this, and I'm going to get this template set up in the document so that people just open on it. And then people who want more detail in the future, I'll be more careful. I do acknowledge that I learn from teaching, and when I see that something works really well, I keep doing it. When something doesn't work, I go, well, I guess I better change how I do it next time. So there you go. I'm changing how I'm doing this one next time. But since we're in the middle of living it right now, do the best you can. Ask me for help right now. Give me a yes if you did it or didn't do it, yes or no. And then when we're done with that, we're gonna go on break and we're gonna come back and we're gonna move forward with putting stuff in here. Okay, I'm happy to have you share and I'll just help you set it up. I can even email you this that I did so that you can open it up as ready to go. All right, so where are we at? Who's been answering? So Monica, Julie, Deidre. How are you doing? Okay, Julie?
Yeah, we're way over my head at this point, but I'm struggling. I'm not struggling, but I'm gonna work on trying to get the boxes right on the break.
And I'm happy to email you this and you can just open it up. And when we come back from break, you can just use this one. And so go ahead and work on it on break, but also I want you to take a break so that your brain kind of freshens up before we come back, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'll email this to you, to everyone anyway, right? Just so that you have it. I'll put it in the handouts, but I don't necessarily want to go right now to the handouts. So I will send you this one, everyone. If you go to your emails, you'll see it in a couple of minutes. And then if you want to, you work with mine, or if you want to, you work with yours. Okay, so I'm gonna go do that. What's the time? It's 10:43. So if it were 10:45, we'd be meeting up at 11. So at 10:58, we'll be back. Be back by 10:58 p.m. All right, I'll send this to you guys and we'll continue when we get back with either your template or mine. Right. Right, I'm back. If you're here, turn your videos on or give me little yeses and stuff to show me your signs of life. Please. And hopefully you'll saw, if you checked your email, that I sent you the folder. Which, by the way, I'm noticing I should also put it in the, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the digital by design techniques class files, except for oh yeah, I put a link into it, and so that might be confusing, but I'm gonna put it in there just so that it's there and I don't forget to at least put it in there for next time. Anyway. Yeah, I'm always sorry when I lose a student from doing something that's too much, but I also don't want to lose students for doing too little. I need to find the good balance. So yeah, sometimes I go too much or too little. All right. So I wanted to say, while everyone's coming back up, that I have let me share just as a quick check-in, because instead of taking a break, because I obsess, I went to the dashboard and to the Padlet, and let me give you guys the code again. Sometimes when people regulate the chat. And so thank you for putting up the templates and your attempt at this. So please go ahead and do screenshots and put them up. But I also wanted to mention over here, for example, you said Monica wrote, the VistaPrint seems to accept pretty much every file format and ask for standard bleeds and safety margins. And so when I click on that, it says just, this is what she wrote, please make sure that your image is at least 300 dots per inch versus PPI pixels per inch. And then, yeah, it just takes kind of almost whatever, right? It's like, hey, give it to me, I'll make it work. When so when I went, because I've used VistaPrint before, you can go a little bit deeper. So say that I want to look for a general information is what you found, but say I go to brochure and it takes me to brochures, right? And I can either use theirs and tell them what I want, or I can go down here, for example, to specs and templates, and then you get much more detail and information. Am I sharing the window, you guys?
Nope.
All this time, I had a feeling I was seeing this like empty faces. I'm like, oh, okay. Let me reshare. There we go. So now I was sharing this page where I went to vistaprint.com, for example, right? And I just said, okay, brochure. So yeah, you can find the general specs, but if you're really going to do something that's not with their templates, and Deidre's gone, but you can get templates from these kind of places too. Go to their templates, for example. But if we go down here, for example, they have specs and templates. And so then they give you much more specifics, right? Because each document has its own specifics. So a trifold brochure, unfolded size 8.5 by 11, and there we go. That would be the template that they present you with. So it is a bit more specific than just the standard. That said, it also gives you the choice to download them. And down here it says create your print file, download the template. So I went ahead and downloaded one. They don't have an InDesign, Illustrator.
No, I got my.
They have Illustrator or SVG or PDF. So I downloaded the Illustrator one, and I opened it up in Illustrator. Yeah, I know. Geeky, this is what I do during my breaks. I opened it up and this is what came. I mean, this is it. This is all that came, this, right? And so I went ahead and did what we just did. I added the guides and measured and basically to see, and yeah, their columns are all identical, right? I just wanted to check out. They don't give you guides or anything. They just, this is all they give you without guides, right? I added the guides and I added the boxes to measure. So there's nothing bad or wrong about doing it this way. This is basically put 3 columns and use it. They don't tell you to be aware of the edge. So if you do that, that's your problem. Like when you download a template, you're kind of on your own to know not to put text to the edge and to the edge and that kind of thing. But also for better or for worse, you get what you pay for. So when they print this out, this will be a brochure that, unless it's folded right, or if it's folded correctly and trimmed correctly, the front page will be a bit shorter than the middle page. And for a lot of people, hey, that's fine. It's a cheap brochure. Who cares? But if you're trying to do something, you know, you're going to send out, you know, a run of 10,000 and it's a really important piece, you want to be precise. So I guess it depends also on your exactness or how much you really care. So if you were to send up your very carefully created brochure template that we're creating now and put it up in Vistaprint, they might still fold it in the middle, and then you might get a little wonky fold. So you want to provide each printer what they ask for. And if Vistaprint wants the same 3 columns, give them that, because that's why you're paying them 20 instead of 2,000. You know what I'm trying to say? Because it's great. It's not a problem. It'll still be a cheap, wonderful brochure that you wouldn't have been able to pay 2,000 for, but you're paying 200 for, and it'll be great. And it won't be absolutely perfect, but who cares? Versus making it exactly right, right? So yeah, you just gauge and measure what you're willing to do, but don't give them a template prepared in a different way, because their folds are probably set up to be exactly at 3 identical columns. And then if they get our template that we're creating, then it just won't fold well. Does that make sense? So it's not like one is better or worse. This is appropriate to what Vistaprint asks. That's appropriate to what another printer asks. So you just need to make sure what your printer needs. So back to the same thing I've been saying all the time, communicate with your printer, check what their specs are for how they fold things and what they need. All right. Cool. I'm seeing a hand there, Moni.
So I had a question about layers. So they keep the layers by the page, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna go into that in a minute, but yeah,
Oh, okay.
layers.
All right,
There, and this,
never mind.
so this is a different box. Well, the reason I was gonna talk to you about it, and here, let me move the Illustrator one out of the way for a second, because that was just when I was opening the, and I haven't, it's bugging me. So let me now go over here. So there's another template that I got, this one that I've been playing with, and this is how this template came in. So I wish Deidre was still here when I showed it. When I downloaded this template, this is what I got. But I knew that if I showed you this, you guys would be like, what? You know, what? Hello? What's happening here? You know? And I downloaded it again I just downloaded it. I went online to a couple of different, I downloaded a bunch and found which one worked best and brought it up, because most of them are not the right kind of information. You know, they would give you this, because this is the one that I got from another one of these printers, which is fine, but it doesn't help you build it. It just tells you what to do. So it's still great. It's very precise what your margin save trim line is. It's a really good one to have. But this is actually a building template, one where they want you to make it happen, right? And so first of all, remember why there's this pink stuff here and around this background? And that's because I have fonts that are missing. And so just really quickly, so you see less pink lines, let me go to the pre-flight panel and just be okay with, just tell it that it's okay to, let me go to the replace font. I'm sorry, I should have done, I just ignore the pink, it doesn't bug me, but let me go ahead and say, let's change all and 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 change all, done. So that now I don't have so many little boxes. Okay, so now this makes a little bit more sense, right? That said, I have eyeballs on 3 different layers. So now I'm looking at my layers. These are my links that I check to see what files I have. These are my pages. And then remember I had my layers. And if you don't see your layers, go to Window and open Layers, and then you'll see your layers panel. So what's up with making different layers? And this one is pretty well, I like this one because it even says your images and colors go here. And when you open at that, they show you that in here, and let me just do the W so it's easier. Here is what they propose for your design. This is a photo. Whenever you see these boxes like that, that kind of means photo. Bring in your photo into that one. And then they've already colored it. You can change the colors, right? And then this is the inside. And this is basically a preset that you're supposed to replace with your colors, your photos. I'm going to turn that off. And it says your text goes here. And then there's nothing there because in this sample, they don't give you text. But if you're going to write text, you would put it there. And then you turn this off. This is where you have all the guides, the stuff that we've been looking at. that I've been reading to you. So once you turn them all on, this is when you get that, right? Which was more confusing. And on top of that, we had the bags. But this is a really well-built template for people to then replace. It says your text here, your text there. So I'm going to put in my type and I'm going to click in there and I'm going to just replace this with, coffee beans or whatever, right? And then you just basically, oh, I didn't delete theirs. And so you start building your own using this template. But notice that this one's locked because I don't want you to write into that one. And the way I do things, when I'm putting in text, if I've decided what my colors are, I'll lock that one too. So that the only place I can write is in here. And so when I click in here, I'll be doing that. So you use layers for different types of material. That this is a well-built template. Now, why would you not have it all in the same place? Is because then you might be writing your text and then you move the box, you bite your box and move the whatever. So you want to try to keep things more separate. We're going to do it a little bit simpler. But basically, in ours, the one that we're creating, if you look at layers, it's all in the same layer. This is all one layer. But since what we've been building is the guides and stuff like that, I would go ahead and double click and call this one, let's call it guides or specs or whatever. Usually I just call it guides. And that's the layer that we've been building, which later we're going to turn off so that we can just do some drawing. And we're going to get rid of these numbers and stuff. This was for us to build it, but we didn't. And then I'm going to create a new layer. And here in this new layers, we're going to put all my stuff. And I like divided into text and graphics, but I also don't want to make it even harder right now for you guys. So let's just say that this layer is everything else, right? Brochure. You don't need to divide it into two. That you can, but if you want to, if you feel comfortable, just make two more. And then you're going to lock the guides and specs, right? So that then you can, when everything, if this is untouchable, I've locked all of this. So now this doesn't move anymore. So I never make a mistake of moving that guide if I shouldn't. Of course, all of this isn't going to be in there. I'm going to go ahead and turn all this stuff off because I don't want to see all this stuff that I've drawn in it. All I wanted was my guides, right? And so by having this on, all the little elements that I just put in that says rectangle, square, but all my stuff, I can leave them there if I want later for learning purposes if you want. But I have my guides. I leave my guides up and running. And now I can begin to put my design in here without the fear that I'm about to select on this guide and move it into the wrong place. Does that make sense? So the guides and stuff, it is good to put them in a different place and to lock them up so that they're not, flexible or movable. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and, looks like I left some other things still open. Where did I make? I thought I had turned them all off. Where is this coming from? I've turned them on. There we go. Okay, so this was the one page. By the way, I have one for each page, right? So this is what's different. Like this is the one for that page. And when I go over here, I have the one for that page. Okay, so each one, it's page 2, 2 layers. And then if I go and click on page 1, no, this is the page 1, 2 layers. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I have 2 layers. This is the layers for page 1. And then this is a layer for page 2, which right now I have them in identical manner. So you need to be on the page you're designing in order to see the specs. And so now I'm turning everything off. So yeah, you have one layer, an entire set of layers per page so that you can handle them independently. Yeah. Monica, is that a new raised hand? Or?
Yeah, it is. Oh, I guess I can see it. So for when I turn my little window off on my guide layer, then my whatever what's the top, the guide that comes down from the ruler disappears. So I guess I just realized you have to just go next to each element and just take the eyeball off. Is that correct?
Well, I don't want the eyeball off the guides.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
I just want the individual parts and things that I put in that.
Okay. That's what I did.
So you have the question. I still need to see the guides, right? I just locked them, but this isn't gonna be part of my design. This was just part of building the template, which normally I wouldn't have done this much. I would have just put my 3 boxes and my little box, like those would, what I would normally have in my template would be this, right? These 3 boxes, because they're my sizes that I'm using. So I'm gonna have those left over. And then when I'm ready to start working, I'll just turn them off. Let me just put them all together. Let me unlock this and put them next to each other. So, and so when I lock, if I want to see them, I can turn them on or off, but I do need to see the guides. Otherwise, what's the point of having done it, right? I'm going to collapse the layers. Now, if you've never worked with layers before, so Julie, I know that this is your first time in all these applications. So again, this might be a little bit like, oh, what's happening? Just let's kind of, the best thing you can do right now, if you're opening yours or you're doing your own, is to basically delete everything that all these boxes that we had made at the beginning. Once you have your guides, just select them all and delete them. Just don't delete the guides, right? So select each thing and click delete, 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 and just leave the 3 guides so that it's easier. And then you always have the one that I sent you as a template with all this stuff, right? To then see what are the things that could or should be in there. So yeah, just the only thing I want you to have locked is guides, and we don't even need to have it done this way. You can also lock your guides after you've made them. You can also go lock your guides by heading over here. For example, you have a thing that says guides, and you can just click on lock or unlock your guides, right? Or you can go up to view extras guides, and you can say lock your guides. So then you don't even need to be working on layers. You can have just one entire layer. And I'm only saying this whole layer thing because you asked, Moni, but we could have left this as one layer. Just forget all this. So I'm going to just kind of go back, undo, because I've done so much stuff. I'm going to go back to having only one layer. Okay, so I'm undoing everything I did. Command Z, 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 Z. And if you guys followed through, you can do that. I'm undoing everything. And this is what I had. This is all I had at the beginning. And that's okay, right? I can just turn all these eyeballs off and ignore them and then just lock my guides. And then I won't be doing this, which is the problem, right? So I don't want to do that. So I would go in my guide options over here in my guides, and I would just, I prefer to go up here because I can see exactly what I'm doing and lock my guides there. So then I just have, that's it. I have a blank page and I do everything the way I'm doing it, right? So either way, with 2 layers or 1, if it's confusing to have 2 layers, which I do believe it'll be confusing right now. So I'm going to leave it all as layer 1. And that'll be fine. I also use the master pages sometimes for these kind of things, but right now we're just going to go with that. So I took everything off of this page, but I left them in this page because I was going up and down. Right now, I want them back. I'm going to copy that and go back over here into this one and then put them back in here. Oh, but these are the ones that are, it's in the other direction. So anyway, I'm kind of recreating it because I want to make sure that I leave this set up correctly, what I undid. There we go. And so, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and yes, I'm gonna make 2 layers. Okay, just so that I can turn things off. So I'm gonna make 1 layer. This is my specs. I'm gonna just call it guides/specs. I'm gonna say okay, and I'm gonna make sure to open it and turn everything off that I don't need to see, except for the guides. I'm gonna lock it. Oh, I left one on. An eyeball on top for this one. There it is, square. Right, and then on this one, I'm just going to work. Since this is locked, I don't even need to worry anymore. I don't have to look at my layers. As long as this is locked, I can never look at my layers again, and life is good. Okay, I'm going to do the same for my page 2. I'm going to go to those layers, and I'm going to turn this off. And there you go. So right now I have, it's transparent, like all that stuff that I did, which is just to teach us how to make a template. I'm keeping it there for you guys to have it for teaching purposes in the future when you open it up. But for design, we don't want all that stuff. All we want is the guides. And the guides we locked by doing guides, lock guides. And that's it, because those are going to be immovable. There's other guides that I'm going to use here and there to align things here and there that I don't want to lock, that I'm going to undo, right? But once I put it in, I tried to select this one and it's been locked, right? So, you know, if it's temporary, you're going to have to unlock them to then move out the ones you don't want. But the ones that are there forever, you just do this to them and you're good. I'm noticing that in all the many times that I made them here and there, I left this one outside and this one's on the inside. That's okay. If you did it outside or not. For those of you for whom the whole layers conversation was too much, just forget it. Just lock your guides and go to your layers, and anything that you see there, turn the eyeball off, because it's all the stuff that we've been working with and we don't want. Just do that and don't bother making a second layer. Just eyeball off all of the sizes. And when you're at this place where both of your pages have nothing on them, you go to A, there's nothing on them, you go to B, there's nothing on them, then we're ready to go. All right, if this is where you are, give me a yes. If where I am is, if what I did right now was utterly confusing, share your screen, I'll turn the things off for you and we'll continue. I already embarked upon this kind of template, so I kind of continue with it. So if at this point you feel a little bit lost, it's okay. You're in the right space to be lost. Those of you who are getting it are probably the ones who've done this before. Don't worry. All the little things I added are to show you how to build it, but they're not necessary to have. Once it's built, you lock your guides, you can just delete them all. You're welcome to just delete all that stuff. I'm keeping them. And I send one to you with them so that you can then look at them and know how to rebuild it. But you can delete it on yours, because if you download the one I gave you, that's the one that'll have all that building stuff to look for in the future. And then on this one, get rid of it all, keep the guides, and let's get going. I need some yeses or nos to see whether I can continue. From Julie, from Monica, and from Amy said yes. Shelly, everyone said yes except for Julie and Monica said yes. Julie, can I help you? Do you want to share your screen so I can help you place you in the right spot? Oh, you wrote, can you show again how to lock guides on the properties panel? Yeah, once you have nothing else selected, but the guides over here, well, mine are locked right now. So I would have to unlock them by clicking over here on the unlock guides. And the little log, it's hard to tell, right? But that is open, and when I click it again, it's locked. It's this teeny little, it shows the lock, that little tiny icon is open or closed. So when I click it one time, it's unlocked. When I click it again, it's locked. Okay, it's that little guy right there. But this won't show up if you have anything selected. So you make sure I have nothing selected, so you're just in your document, and there you go. Did that work, Julie? If you're speaking, I'm not hearing you because I muted everyone for the break.
I'm sorry. I've got headphones on and I'm looking at two different screens, so I'm muted.
No,
but
no,
yes,
that's-
that helped. Thank you.
Sometimes people speaking don't know, because at break I mute everyone, right? So when you come back from break, you speak like before and you don't know that you're muted, because I muted everyone so that you can make all the noise you want in the background during break. So I just warn people that you're muted. All right, cool. So given that we know now that this is the front cover, we can start by maybe bringing in images, and then we were going to go, I'm looking at the time, we were going to go into Illustrator and make a little mini logo. So let's head over to Bridge and our digital techniques file, and the top set of images, this one, this one, this one, and this one, okay, will be part of this brochure. And then this is text that we can put in there, and it's a Word document, which is like, what? Well, you don't, even if you don't have Word, it doesn't matter, because we can bring in the text straight in. So say that you don't own Word, you use other stuff for it, and you open it up, and per chance you can't open it. Then it doesn't matter, because from inside of InDesign, if I now create a text box somewhere, anywhere, I'm going to click and drag and put in a text box in this little column. I'm going to place, just like we did an image. Okay, so go into your InDesign, grab your type tool, make a text box. I'll make it in the middle of nowhere so that you can just see that it doesn't even need to grab, because you can see it. When you make it exactly on the right spot, you can't see the text box anymore, and it might be confusing. What are you doing? But if you just drag and do that, you'll see your text box, right? And then when you do Command or Control D or File Place, and you go into your class files, what was the name? What was it called? I'm drawing a blank. AA Cafe Text. Okay, sorry, I just needed to see the name of it. I'm gonna go back into InDesign. I don't have them by alphabetical order. Here it is, AA Cafe Text.docx, right? So I'll open, and all the text drops in, just as if it had been a photo. It's the text that was written in a Word document, and you can have it in an RTF document. You can have it in whatever document the client usually will say, here, this is what I want written in my brochure. If you're your own client, you write it yourself, but you wouldn't create the text in InDesign. You wouldn't be brainstorming what to write in InDesign. You will have written the pertinent material in some writing program or another. So you can copy paste from a Google Docs, or you can insert. The whole point is, this is the text that we are going to have in this brochure, right? And you can write more or less, or use it or not use it, but this is how you would bring in text, okay? And so probably you're going to also bring in things like, you're going to write in things like the address of the place, your opening hours, all that kind of stuff. But right now, this is just stuff that can go in the brochure about, you know, the history of coffee or whatever. And then this is like this can be a byline, a caption to the photo of the owner and stuff like that, right? So anyway, right now you can leave this there. If you don't know where you're going to put it, at least you have it. You can read it. You know how big it is. You can use the pasteboard, drop it out there, so that when you're ready to put it in a certain place, you can go and say, okay, I just want the caption. You select the caption and you put it in the caption, right? So it's good to see it. If you have Word and you open it Word Parallel, then you would just switch to Word, see the text there, and not really have to have the text on top of you. But this is a good solution to being able to have the text visually there. And I know that it's dark to see it, but you have an idea of where it is. You just put it there. And yeah. And by the way, make sure, I've noticed that I'm on page 2 over here. Make sure that you're on page 1, and then you'll go, where did my stuff go? It's because the pasteboard and the layers belong to each one. So if you wanted this with you on the front one, you know, you can just copy or cut and paste and put it in here. But yeah, the pasteboard also belongs to each page. So if I leave it here, and I go to page 2, I won't find it. It's akin to as if it were here, that you wouldn't find it here, right? Because it's not on page 1. Same with this space outside of it, right? It belongs to each page. So now I went to page 1 and I put it in my pasteboard of page 1, right? Right there. And see how it's not on the pasteboard of page 2. But if I need it, I can just go drag it and put it in here. It's not like it's exclusive, right? I can move it around. But if I'm just looking at page 2, I won't see it in this space. I'll see it in that space. Okay, just showing you how the pasteboard works. All right, back to page 1. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and we can start by seeing what kind of material we have for this brochure. I'm going to go to Bridge, and I have these 3 photos. So I have a photo of the owner, and then I have a shot of someone, you know, pouring in coffee, and then a close-up of some coffee, and a close-up of one of the mugs that this coffee house uses. So that's my material. But we don't have, say, a logo. What hasn't been provided. And I'm not going to have us spend a lot of time in Illustrator making a logo, because that's why I have a full-on Illustrator class for, or a full-on, you know, Photoshop class for, to make the photos be black and white or red or yellow or whatever. So right now, I'm just going to have us go and search for a vector file of a coffee bean somewhere and download it. And it's the kind of stuff that you'll probably do if you're not really like an illustrator of stuff yourself. You can start, if you're not good at like drawing, say, a coffee bean, you can just go online and look up in all these different free places. And I believe like Pixabay, if you go to pixabay.com, Pixabay.com has royalty-free photos, illustrations, vectors, and stuff like that. So you can click on vectors, for example. And then searching for vectors, let's go for coffee or coffee beans, or I don't know, I'm just trying to, and let's see what's available. And here we go. These are all royalty-free coffee bean things that you can download, and then from there modify it. Or you can like make your own. Those of you who've taken my Illustrator class, if you want to go into Illustrator, just kind of quickly bring one down. Or maybe your logo is just the word. Last time we had invented a name for this store. Maybe it's just the name, right? You can go for this one and you go, I don't want the stars. You can just leave the stars. So right now, for the sake of the fact that we don't have that much time, I'm just going to go with one of these. I don't know, that one. This is what I mentioned, that the Monicas had done this before, and they have their own, that we did it in Illustrator. So there you go. I'm going to go for this little coffee cup, whatever. I want that one. And so I'm going to click on it and I'm just going to download it. And it's going to ask me, what do I want? PNG or vector graphic. I definitely want a vector graphic. Okay. And then I'm going to download. You're going to have to sign in, but it's okay. You can log into this. Just sign in as with your Pipeline account if you don't want to use your personal one. I believe I'm already in this one. No, I don't. I'm not signed. So I'll go to Google and I'll put in my Pipeline email and I'll create an account with them, and then I'll be able to download it. Vector graphic download. So thank you again. It says, it tells you what the licensing is. And so if you want to make sure that it's okay, that you're good to use, you go to the licenses and it tells you what you can do. And this is something that what are you allowed to do? You can use it for free. You can You cannot distribute it as if it were your own. You're not sell it and all kind of thing. And each one of the things you download will have a different license. So you want to just check to make sure that what you downloaded is good. All right. And if you did download it, then you have it in your downloads folder. So I'm going to go to InDesign. I'm going to say place, Command D, and I'm just following through with the whole process, and then I'll take it one by one. I go to your downloads folder, and I'm going to go find the Cup AI that I just downloaded, and I'm going to open, and here it is. Boom. This is going to be my logo. Now I'm going to do all that again and slowly and walking you through it if necessary. Those of you who want to spend, 2 minutes making a little circle with a line through it in Illustrator and bring it in as your coffee bean, you're welcome to do that. But I recommend at this point downloading something. And so I told you to go to Pixabay. And I'm going to go ahead and click in the I just went ahead and put a link in our chat that takes you straight to this page, which is Pixabay with the coffee bean search. Go ahead and grab something from here. If you click on that link, you'll come straight to this page. Select one that you don't hate or one that you love. At this point, it's the least of it, and that's not bad. That's interesting, isn't it? The little coffee bean pod. And so she's talking about the origin of it. Maybe that might match the fact that she cares about the history of coffee or whatever. So then you just download that one. The only thing is that when you go to download, they'll have you sign in there. It's free. But so if you need to sign up, and you don't want to sign up with your personal email, use your Pipeline one. And as soon as you do that, you'll be able to download it. So once you have, I'm going to clean my image. Once you have downloaded a logo into your downloads folder, and then I think I'm gonna once you have downloaded that, right? And it says download, make sure to choose vector graphic, because we want to be able to make it big or small or hard consent. If we bring in a pixel based one, these are all the pixel sizes, that will work. If you're going to take this also to the internet, you're going to want both. But for printing, make sure to have your vector graphic. So then you download it, and then when you go back into InDesign, you do File Place or Command D and Controller Command D, and then you bring in, and this, the first time it came in as an Illustrator file, this time it's coming in as SVG. SVG is also a vector file, and if you go to the internet, you wouldn't use an AI, you would use an SVG. So from Adobe Illustrator, you can convert it into an SVG. This one came in already as an SVG, and I can use it also here. And here you go. There's my second one that I downloaded. Once you get to this and you have in your InDesign a logo that you either made or not, and if you just want to make a little circle and call it your logo, welcome to do that. Then give me a yes. And if you need help with any of these steps, give me a no or raise your hands and I'll walk you through it. If I don't see yeses, I'll begin to ask, hey, how can I help you, right? So that we can move forward with design.
So turns out that you have to set up the whole account in Pixabay apparently, and I'm not doing this right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
It doesn't let me download things without giving them all the information. So
you just say pipeline or whatever, it doesn't let you in? Okay.
no, it lets me in, but I have to set up an account and I'm stuck at that point. So don't worry about it. I'll find something else to put in.
Yeah. But if that's you, that's everyone. So that's why your experience matters. Yeah. So let me just show you. This is a good one, and I'm going to do it really quick to show you how to Google images for free. If you go to Google, right, and you write, for example, coffee cups, vector, right? If this is just regular old Google, coffee cups vector, you come up with a lot of stuff, but a lot of this is licensed, right? So if you want to see things that are license free, royalty free, that you can download straight from Google, you go over here to the word tools. And when this turns on, you go to more, no. Oh, I'm not in the image. Yeah, I'll go to images, sorry. I'll go to images because I want to coffee cup vectors. And then under tools, then it'll give you usage rights. And I want something that's Creative Commons. So meaning it's free for me to use for free. And I can just download it without needs for anything. Click on Creative Commons license. So then from Google, supposedly everything I've been shown right now would be free to use, right? So say I like this one. Well, this one says licensable, so be careful, like, you know, but for the purpose of right now, right? I don't care if what you do is if you just get one of these and you just right click and copy it. I wouldn't recommend that for real, but then that would give you something to use right now for free. So even if you want to do a little screenshot of it, and right now it's not a vector, it doesn't matter. Just get yourself a little something, screenshot this, and then use that. Or click on it. This is from Wikimedia Commons. And then you go visit that site. And then this is completely free. You don't, in Wikimedia Commons, you don't need to do anything. You just download it, right? And so you choose which one. Here's an SVG file. I think you download it from the media viewer. That's only if you're an original file. Here it is. Click on original file. And there it is. It's in there. You can right click and you can just download this now. Okay, so you can do something like that, or just screenshot this and bring it in, paste it into InDesign as a PNG. It doesn't matter for the purposes of today. Next time I should probably provide a little logo. Depends on which class. Sometimes I spend more time on one thing or the other, and I spend enough time on the templates that I didn't give you guys time to sit and make a little logo in Illustrator. If you have an image in Illustrator, good. If you don't, I'm going to go text you one of these. Text you. I'm going to go and email you one. That way, that's the easiest thing probably, is to email it to you, just like I did the other thing. Let me go here to email. And I'm going to go to the files that I sent already. And I sent you this one. I'm going to copy your guys' emails. And I'm going to send one of these logo files to you. So I'm going to compose a new email. You can see to all you guys. And logo for you to use. So go check your emails and I'll upload both. And you can choose the two that I just downloaded and you can just choose which one. And boom, I have just sent it to you. So there you go. And in fact, I'm going to go into my class files. And once again, why not? I'm gonna put these two, so in future, I have those logos uploaded, so we don't come into this problem. All right, cool. So if you didn't get a way to download anything, I just emailed you these two. Okay, so just go and download them from your email and bring one of those in. So once you get to the point, all you need to do now is go to your email, download a file, and then place it from your downloads. And so forget all of the searching for one or making one. Once you have an image in here, give me a yes, and we'll continue. So I'm clearing your feedback again. So if you already said yes, kind of give me a yes again, because now I've been talking and I'm not sure what the yeses are for. And then I'll keep going. Amy, you're always so quiet, but I notice that you're always going, yes, no. So I know you're there and following, but I never hear you. So if you have any questions or you have something to say, go for it. You know, I'm just want to make sure that you know that I'm not ignoring you, but you kind of always move forward. And I just want to invite you to ask if you have to ask anything. Meanwhile, those of you who are waiting a little bit, don't forget to come over here and post your stuff. I think most of you have posted your templates. Seeing only 2 or 3 of you guys, Monica and Amy and Julie, but the rest of you, please do a little post of the template that you've been building. That would be really great. And now let me help whoever still needs to be here. And let me see, Shelly's okay, Mark, okay. Julie, can I help you get to this point? Do you want to share your screen and I'll walk you through it to make sure that you got,
I'm okay. I've got there.
you got here? Oh, okay, great. All right. So now, you know, I think I'm gonna go with this one. See, for now, I'm gonna delete the other one. And so if this is gonna be my logo, because this is a vector file, I can make it as big or as small as I want. But remember that we're in InDesign, and it's going to, if I move this box, I'm just moving the container. So if you want to actually make it bigger or smaller, remember that you had to either go to the auto fit here, and then you can make it bigger or smaller and it'll kind of go with you, or you had to do the whole shortcut thing. So that might be the easiest way right now. And since it's vector, you can make it really big or really small and it'll still work. And maybe that's your point, that you're going to have this kind of faded in the background, right, as part of your art, and you're going to put some photos inside of it, so you can do whatever you want with it. As a vector, it's going to be great, and I'm kind of liking that. So maybe that'll be part of what I'm going to do. I'm going to have this guy kind of faded into the background there somewhere. No, just the beginning of my thinkings. And so mainly I'm trying to show you the pasteboard. You can leave everything hanging out in your pasteboard. That's fine. When you print, this will be cut out, right? It doesn't matter. You could be then really specific and grab the box, and when you're done, bring it over, you know, oh, then you'd have to turn off, sorry, the auto fit. You can then grab this container and bring it back and then just show only the piece that you're trying to show, which would be that much. But you don't have to, you can leave it hanging out and it's fine. It's just easier to see it for your brain if you see that that's all you're seeing instead of seeing all of this, right? But to do that, you have to turn off the auto fit then, because otherwise this just makes things bigger and smaller. Okay, so you can turn the auto fit on or off, or you can just use the shortcuts. When this is off, you can cut into it if you just want to show that a little bit. All right. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and not cut it yet, because maybe I'll want to add this much or that much, or put it in the middle, or have it span the front and the back. But don't forget that this is your back cover, so that of all things, you would rarely open a brochure and look at it, the bad cover open, right? So this is going to be in the way where you put your mailing address. And so this might not be the best way to do this. And you might want to wait and do something like this if you're going to span the insides into the inside cover, that when people open up, then you've got, you know, a big image spanning the whole inside, right? And then you write over it. And so you make it transparent enough. And this is where I'm going. I can fill it with something, or I can stroke it, or I can reduce its opacity. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm reducing its opacity. Don't go anywhere under 10%. You might see it here still under 10%, but you want to have at least 10% opacity for something on a print to show up as not white. Right? So I'm going to go to maybe 15%. And it'll just be this little faded image in the background as I write on top of it. Maybe that's going to be one of my design points. I don't know. I'm just trying it out. Okay. let me actually copy this and paste it into here. So I'm gonna have a version of it in each page. And I like that. I'm gonna kind of put it in the front again, and I'm just kind of liking that idea, whatever. We can bring in some photos. I'm gonna Command D. Now I'm leaving this up to you to decide how you want to do this. But let me go to the digital design techniques files. There we go. So over here, if you look at names, I've named them all AA underscore something. These are all the files meant for this. That way they all pop up in names as, Beans Cafe, Cafe Owner, Nitra Blue. So I'm going to bring in the Beans photo. And here I'm going to maybe make that be part of the front cover. I don't know yet how big I'm going to want it, but definitely don't want to just simply click, because then if it's too big, it won't work. If you know that you're going to want it as a little thumbnail, put it in like that. Now, since this is a front cover, I probably won't want it, but you don't know if it's going to come in humongous. So the best way is to put it in directly. Now, since I do want this to not bleed into the cover, I don't want the back cover to have any of this photo. I'm going to make sure that I leave it inside the cover, but I do want it to have bleed. I'm paying big bucks for this one. So I'm going to go from the fold and into the bleed, and I'm going to drop it right there. If I were to say W, that's kind of what I've got going right now. And I'm just laying it out there, and I might decide I don't like it. I might think it's too busy. I might want to make it smaller, but this is kind of what I'm doing. And so remember to hit the W to kind of see what's happening, because it's kind of hard to see in all these lines what's really happening. Okay. And then, yeah, so make sure that you've got your thing that you want it. And I'm thinking that maybe I'm going to maybe I want to have a bigger, I'm going to want to have this, I'm just into having a detail right now. I'm just feeling like I might want to have this little detail of that instead of the whole thing. And then I'm going to like cut into just this bit. I don't know why I'm feeling like cutting today. Let's see if I like that. W. So maybe that's going to be it. And then here I'm going to put the cafe name. Might want to make a band of color behind it. So I make a box. And the reason I'm doing the one I'm going to do right now is to show you, remember, that layers. So if I want to maybe have a band of color that goes behind this whole thing. Maybe I want a black box to go from edge to edge of my bleed. I'll fill it in with black. But the reason I was doing this is because I wanted it to go behind. So if you want it to go behind and you're going to put the cafe name in front, then you need to go to your layers. Open your layers, and then this rectangle, you put it behind, right? So then that makes sense, because otherwise you can't like move it. When you make it, you made this first, and the second, this won't end up on top. So then you do go to your layers and you move this around up to make it on top of things, and you bring it down to put it underneath things. Okay, this kind of tells you what each thing is that's in your layers. All right, so I'm kind of working on putting some stuff in here. I'm gonna have to invent a name for this. I think last time we had invented the demi-tasse. Any idea what I should call this one? What are you guys calling it? Do you want to call this cafe something that we can all use, or do you want to? I'm going to show you a little bit about text, which is why we talked a lot about text the other day, but what we didn't talk yet is what I want to bring up right now. So if you're still designing and putting and dropping in, I'll give you another like minute for this, and 30 seconds for this, and then you can come back to putting what you want in here. But I want us to move on for a second into creating some text and how we would handle stuff that I did not show you last week. Last week, we talked about all of this continued text and text boxes, but now I want to show you some more work. So I'll give you, I don't know, 10 more seconds by this point to just bring in a few more things if you want to bring in a few more things. And then I'm going to put in a type tool. Any questions before I move on to text? Thanks, Amy. I saw your note. I'm not seeing questions. All right, so stop whatever you're doing regarding design, and let's move over to the type tool. And if you want, you can move over maybe to page 2 if you haven't put anything in there, just so it's a bit, and oh, I did put something in it. Just move over here into this page so that we can, here, I'm gonna move this out of the way. Let's drag it out. I want an empty place because I want to show you some things about type. So let's go ahead and make a box. You can make it big, whatever you want. And let's write the name of this coffee cup, which if no one gives me a better idea, I'll use the one we used before because I'm not coming up with an idea. Either yell it out or put it in the chat if you have an idea for the name of this coffee company. Nope. Okay, I'm going to use the one we used before, which was the word demi-tasse. I'm going to write it in uppercase. Demi-tasse, which kind of means half cup. I'll select that text. I'm going to make it really big. So now I kind of need everyone to, even if we're practicing, to make this big because I want to show you some stuff about text, okay? So even if you want a different word, put a different word. But if you don't have the same issues or not, go, and I'm going to make it bigger so that you can see it, not because I want the logo to be this big. But here we go. I'm going to do the W so that I don't have any other lines. And here's the thing that I wrote. And my box is bigger. And remember, if I get it too small, then it's gonna kind of give me the little extra. So make your text box as big as it'll hold this and bigger because we're gonna play around with fonts. But if you do nothing else but write in the way it came, the default text is Minion Pro. As much as we handled body text before, I want to show you a little bit about about how to handle text that's going to be a title or a headline or something like that. So now close your eyes a little bit and look at your screen and look at my word and close them and look at them and then tell me, does this word look even to you? Like, are the spaces even looking between the letters? Does it look good? Does something stand out as weird? Do you feel like take some time to really stare at it? You know, when you look at something for a long time and you look at a way it looks different. And then, yeah, everyone vote. If you think it looks totally fine the way it is, say yes, it's fine. If you think there's something a bit strange or not, give me a no. And I'm not telling you if it is or not good or not. Just give me what you feel when you look at this. I'm getting a couple of no's. All right. Some people aren't voting one way or another. Remember, blank vote doesn't count. All right. Shelly, Julie, you had said no before, and then you took off your no, so I'm not sure if you think Shelly hasn't voted. Those of you who did vote and said no, what are you seeing here? Why did you say no? What's the?
For me, it was between the D and the E and around the A.
Mm-hmm.
That there's
What's
more
happening?
space. There's more space.
Like there's a bit more space.
The
You know,
visual.
sometimes first of all, it helps to make it big, and I'm making it big in my sample, right? But if you guys have a bigger space that you can look at yourself. So you can go ahead and make it really big. The bigger, the weirder things look, the less they're easy to read as a word. So it's easier to distinguish. And yeah, you know, when you put your eyes and you kind of squint and you barely see it, and then you look at it, you kind of see less the words, but you begin to see spaces. And yeah, then suddenly you begin to see that there's like more, it's seemingly more space between this letter and that one than there is between these two. Same over here. It has to do with the way the shape of the letters are. So when you do single word, okay, got it. So yeah, when you do single word text and stuff like that, got it, Julie, thanks. As logos, as big headlines of an article or magazine, of your postcard, you want to really, like, you don't want to do this to body text. You wouldn't work on the space of every single thing in a whole body text. But over here, you definitely want to work with it. But I haven't chosen the font I want yet. In this font, I could go and correct some things. And let me just show you in this font what I would do. I would hold on to my type tool, and I would go into the space here that I think is too big, or into the ones that I think are too small and make them bigger. But when I click in between these two letters, and between the D and the E, if I want to maybe make it closer to the E, then over here on the right side where I have the characters, I have a bunch of different things beyond just the size, which is all we've been using right now, is font and size. We have all these other choices, and they're really useful. And then the next one down, which shows you a letter, a slash, and a letter, that slash would be the example of the cursor. That basically is the kerning, which means I will change the amount of space between letters. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on this and make this be 0. Got a little bit bigger. I'm going to grab this and go to 200. Whoa. And that was a redrawing thing. And now it got even bigger. So this is, I didn't make a space. I didn't add a space between the D and the E. All I did is in kerning, I added a whole bunch of space between each letter. Now I'm going to go the other way around. I'm going to go and say minus 100. So now every time it does it, now it's too little space, right? So I'm just showing you how you can change the amount of space between letters with this tool. I'm going to go back to 0. Ow, I was going to keep doing that. That's not going to work. And the redraw. And now I'm going to start fine tuning it. If I want to put less space, I'm going to just start cleaning in this arrow and start looking, kind of squint my eyes and look up and down until I think, that looks a little bit more like it. And I'm going to do again with the S over here. I'm going to click between these two. I'm going to bring these a little bit closer. Maybe bring the A closer to the T, right? And then just slowly begin to look at maybe the M and the I are a little bit too close, and I'm going to actually add a bit of space in there until it kind of evens out. I'm thinking this one needs a little bit less. So it's just a visual thing. There's nothing mathematical about this. It's you just kind of making it so that as when you squint and look away, it looks hopefully even enough, right? So that's adding or taking away kerning from your text. Again, this happens when you have a logo, a one big headline, a one big piece. So whatever word you wrote, sometimes the letters fit better into each other or not. So if you wrote a completely different name, and there's usually this happens when there's a circular letters and straight letters that combine, and then you have like, or a lot of I's, and then you have an M, and there's like different spacings. But if your word happened to be a kind of word that it doesn't show differences, then you're lucky. But if it does, then this is how you would kind of work on fixing it. Okay. Now, the only problem with doing this before having chosen the font that I want is that this kerning that I just made will stay with me as I change fonts. So this is work that you should probably have done after you chose your font, okay? Because it might not be the same correction. Another font, this might look weird. So I'm not saying that we can't now choose different fonts, but I'm just saying we might need to refix it, or in the future, you might choose your font first and then do this kind of work. So you can go ahead and go over through all your art and look at it. And just before I even choose it, you can see already that if this were the one I'd use, Now the T and the A are too close, and the D and the E and the E and the M are too far. And maybe it's because of all the mess that I made and not because of anything else. You know what I mean? So if I choose, don't ever choose a script for uppercase ever. If you're going to do the crypt font, just make it for the first letter. But I keep seeing people choose a whole script, uppercase script font as a word, and it's unreadable, as you can see. Anyway, go ahead and move around and choose, oh, this is a funky one, Cariliantine. Why not? I don't think I've ever seen this font. I'll choose that one. So okay, so if that's the font I use, other things that I can do, so choose whatever you want. And you can keep changing your mind. But notice that it got much smaller. That's mainly, even though I'm at the same amount of points, my other one is like up to here, and this one suddenly, for 72 points, occupies less space. So that's why you want to know your font first before you decide what you're going to do. Because then if I wanted to occupy this much space, then I'm going to have to make this one be 90 points, right? To occupy the same amount of space. I can also work on kerning to give the letters a bit more space. I'm feeling like they're barely breathing. So as much as this kerning individually separates the space in between each letter, this one over here right next to it, which is tracking, will equally add space in between each letter to the entire word. So I'm going to again exaggerate it. I'm going to go with minus 100. Whoa, my letters are right on top of each other. Or plus 200. I get a lot of space between each letter. So it's not for individual letters. So if I go back to 0, then maybe I'll go, you know, I just want to add a little bit of space. So I'm going to go this way and add just a little bit of space between them. And then maybe because what I did before or not, then I might want to go ahead and put my cursor in between these and then refix the spaces. And so maybe now I'm going to take away some space between some of these and add some space. So now I'm going to say that this is the font I'm going to use. So I'm kind of tying myself to this one. So now I'm going to do this and say, okay, I'm good with whatever space I have. So it might have written itself out better had I not first changed this for the other word. But yeah, now I look at it from afar and I go, yeah, I think that's that kind of works. I think the spaces now are better. And then you'll step out and you'll come back and you go, oh, wow, now it looks like there's a big hole over here. You know, gonna go back and forth a few times until you feel comfy with it. All right, so go ahead and do some kind of process like this with whatever font you want or whatever font you choose. I just want you guys to use some kerning and some leading to change the spaces in between to fix it if you need to or not. And then you go out and you look at it from afar and you go, yeah, that still looks good. And then you look at it from up front and really big. And as long as the spaces still make sense to you, then you got it, right? But you got to kind of move it in and out to feel comfy with the weight and the space and all of that. And I'm going to say that this is what I like. And I'm going to move it up here. But right now, the text is the same color as my, as that box in there. So I'm going to make it, I'm going to go over here to the fill, to the text. And how about we make it, I'm going to try paper. And then I'm going to put it over here and see if that works. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Bring my guides in here and I'm going to put, whoops. I'm going to approach and grab this thing and make it fit in there. And let me just ask you, what do you think about the place I put it in? Is that a good placement? If I look at this without the guides, it looks okay. If I look at this, what do you think about my placement? Let me get bigger just to make sure you can see. Look at all my guides and things. What do you think about the placement of that?
Well, it'll potentially get cut off at the E.
Yeah, because I am going over my margin, and this is the safe space. Do not go over the margin for anything that needs to be read because the cut could come in the wrong way, right? And over here, I have, if I go over to that spot there, then I'm in trouble there too, because I'm going inside, I'm going to the fold line. And that's the safe margin so that the letter doesn't get folded out. So I need to, at the very least, keep myself in between this margin and that margin. So I might need to make my font a little bit smaller. Or maybe you make your spacing, you know, you want to be closer or taller. You can just change other stuff, right? But you want to make sure that you fall within the safe spot for this font at least. So I'm going to go ahead and give it another little tap right there. And then maybe you can snap this in there so that you don't have it too big, because now you've decided, yeah, that's good. So now I've snapped it and I hit the W, and this hopefully is centered with that, because remember, this kind of goes up until there. So hopefully the space is similar to that, and it looks centered enough for when you're going to get that front page. All right, so then I'm going to move down a little bit, and maybe I'm going to move this down to center. Maybe not, maybe I want it to go up and have it be offset. I don't know, it's all design. Maybe I'm going to put a little byline that says cafe, specialty cafe, or roasted, you know, house roasted, or whatever it's called. You know, you can keep doing whatever you want to that. I'm going to offset it a little bit, give it that much space. I like that balance. That can be my cover, but if it is a brochure where I'm trying to give them information about my stuff, I might want to put a little bit more information in the front, or I might leave the information for the middle, for the back. I'm going to say save. And now for those of you who are moving forward with your design, bringing in text somewhere else, that's great. But I want to stop and offer some help and some support if anyone needs that. How are we doing? Stop my share for a minute.
So, whoops, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to change the color of my logo. Can I do that
Okay.
in InDesign, or do I have to go back
Actually,
to Illustrator?
Great question. No, you can't. This, thank you for asking that. Let me share my screen again. There. I have to share so many different windows that I have to be looking each time. So yeah, as much as I couldn't change this photograph in InDesign, if I need to change it, I have to go to the original one. Then same with your SVG or Adobe Illustrator, whichever one you brought. So if you know where it is, good or not, or if not, you can go to your links, go to that logo, to the instance of the logo, and this is the one that you want. And then if you want, you can just go straight in here, click on Edit Original. And when you do that, it's going to kick itself open in, and I already had Illustrator open, so it did it pretty quickly. It took me to Illustrator.
Okay.
Illustrator, I can select it and give it a different fill. Now,
Okay.
this one here, probably you're going to have to click on, oh, it's probably set up as CMYK, so it's not giving me that choice. I would have to change the color palette selections and stuff. Yeah, because it's only giving me that. So if I choose a color, maybe I want to make it brown, or yeah, burgundy brown or something like that. When the palettes aren't there for colors, then you have to kind of go and pick them up from the color picker here, so to get the colors again. And now if I go back to InDesign, it hasn't changed yet, but if I save it here, right, I have to Command S or Control S, and I go in here, then see it has changed color in InDesign. Okay. And it's not the same color I did in InDesign, because here I had made it, I had changed the opacity, right? If I were to go up to there, that's the color I just chose in Illustrator. And I had just brought it down. So maybe I'll just change it to a different opacity. And now that kind of works with the coffee bean, at least with this photo, that looks kind of good. So yeah, but it's a link. You have to edit it in the appropriate place. And over here, since it's the instance of the same image, this one changed as well, because both of these show up in two different ways, but it's the actual same image in Illustrator. So when I change one, the other one changed. So if I want one to be black and one white, I need to actually have two separate images so that I can, modifying them separately. I would have to link to a whole different one, and I'd get a copy of this one and open a separate one. But what I can do here is I can change its opacity. And although they are both the same element, I can apply its own opacity here, right? One thing that I haven't shown you yet, I'm going to copy this name. And I'm going to go in here to the interior. I'm going to give it a color that's visible because now that it's white, you can't see it. So say that I color it black. One thing that you can do, and I'm going to make it bigger so that we can go ahead and make it 172. One thing you can, so that you can see it better, and move this out of the way. So you can also add effects. What kind of effects can you add? I believe didn't I show you some effects the other day? Maybe I showed them to an Illustrator. Did I show this class any effects to text? I know I showed some effects, but I think it was in, I don't know, Photoshop. Anyway, so over here where I go to my, select this and I go to my fill and stroke and I change the opacity, I have this little tool here that says effects. And if I click on that, it gives me some choices of effects. Say that I want to add a drop shadow to it. If I do that, this box pops in. And in this pops, even though I chose drop shadow, all the possible effects exist. If the drop shadow is what I chose and it's checked, then anything I do over here will affect it. So say I'm going to move the angle of my drop shadow around, or I'm going to change the color of my drop shadow. And that's something I always like to do. Changing the color of drop shadow would be a biggie because I can go over here and I can choose it to be a little brown or something. But since I don't have it as a swatch, that's unchoosable. So I would have to make a swatch for this color, right? To choose it. But I like, let me see, I have, let me cancel. I have, if I have this photo over here, I think I can make that shadow take on the color. Nope, that's not what I mean. Swatches. No, I'm gonna have to bring in that color from Photoshop. I wanted to have a brownish shadow. I would have to change that in there, but I can make the opacity lighter. I'm going back to here to show you this a bit bigger. Oops. There. So I can, anyway, so that was the drop shadow. Say that I decide to make the side of the way. Make my opacity here of the drop shadow a little bit lighter. I can make the light come from some other place, or I can say, nah, I didn't want a drop shadow. Maybe I want to bring it a bevel and emboss. And so then I change the settings for bevel and emboss, or I take that off and I want to give it a little feather. So then it becomes, you know, soft, and how much feather do I want it to have? So if I want to change the feather options, these are still the drop shadow options. I click on feather. And then I decide to make it more or less feathered, right? So if I make it less feathered, we're back to nothing, but I make it more feathered, then I have that effect. I mean, these are all just effects, but if it works for you, that's good. If it doesn't work for you, then don't use them. Turn this off and don't use them, right? But you could play around and see what kind of feathering you can get, right? There I've got some gradient from the top or from the bottom. Anyway, so there's just, you know, playing around. You have always the chance to do so much stuff that I can't even begin to. Here's a gradient feather if I want my text to gradient in or out. I'm just, I don't think I'm gonna do any right now, but well, I'll leave one in there for you to see. I can make it be closer. I can make it be softer, harder, you know, these are all possible effects I can choose. I can make that be much lower. I can make it, so there's just all this kind of stuff that I can do. I'm going to leave it at a very basic, very light, gentle version, and then it just pops out a little bit more. I don't really think this word might, as a logo, might apply with a shadow or not, but there we go. Now, it's possible. Now I'm going to bring down Maybe I can also make this be a little bit lower. But now I'm like, no, I'm going to use it as a graphic. So I don't want it to be black. I want it to be this color. But I don't have that color here. Okay, remember we were doing colors the other day. I go to text and I want to give it that color, and nope, nothing there. So one of the things I wanted to show you today, before we are done, is how do you bring colors into InDesign? Because right now we had to go to Illustrator to give us a different color. So how about boxes or text or stuff that I create in InDesign? Right now we have these two things we're creating in InDesign, this box and this text. How do I give it a color if the only colors I have here are these very basic there's just like the most basic of all possible color boxes in here. It's almost nothing. In Illustrator, at least you have some basic swatches. There's nothing in InDesign. So I'm going to show you that wherever you are with your design. Let's just stop for a minute and look at color. And there's a couple different places where I can create color from. Let me go ahead and show you one way. If I go over here to let me just go and choose text. I'm going to choose a color for the text. And I can go ahead and click on this little new swatch, this little plus sign that's here. Let's bring this out a little bit. Now it's stuck to where it is. A new swatch. I'm going to make a new swatch. And since I already had black, I copied a black copy, and I could have chosen the color different. I'm going to double click on it. And now I'm going to call this one coffee bean brown, for example, right? And I have a problem here that since I started with black, there's not much in the way of any colors, right? So I might need to have started first with a color that wasn't black, but yeah, let me see if I can bring it back. If I go back to 0, I can bring some colors, looks like that. Yeah.
Okay,
So
I
this is
lost
a
you here.
very-
Can you quickly go back to where you started? Like,
Yeah, I'll
oops.
show you that. Give me a second. But I'm trying to show you how this is almost impossible to get a good color. Like what I'm showing right now is like not a good way, because how could I know how to move my CMYKs to make it work? So
Right.
although that is one way, I don't like this way. So I'm going to cancel. But what I did was I did the following. I clicked, and I'm going to undo what I did. Undo what I did, and there we go. I had this painted in black. And in my little swatch panel, I went to this little plus sign right there.
Mhm.
It said new swatch. If I scroll down now, I have a new swatch here, which was this one, black got copied because I had black. Now, if I want to modify it, I double click, and that's when I came upon this, which is a really bad way to choose colors, right? This is where I put the name, coffee bean brown, and then since I'm at pure black, I had to move this back down to 0 black, and then I began to choose the stuff. But you know, as I said, to be able
Right.
to know how to manipulate the colors is like, yeah, kind of magic. You might, but yeah, it's not the best way. But notice that it's live, that it is changing. And if I'm good at color, I could look at stuff and I might be able to mix it colors enough to find the right thing. I'm not saying that you can't, but yeah, it's not the best way to choose color. So say that I end up with something totally inappropriate. Say I ended up with that and I was trying to get a brown, then that is not the best way. I'm going to say okay to that. I've created a color that doesn't look like coffee bean brown, but just to show you that I did create a new palette, right? A new swatch. So what's a better way? Well, another way would be if I click on this little box right there, would have also, no, that wouldn't work because if I had it would also give me black.
Okay,
So that
somehow I don't get that box. So I have my Word Demitas, I'm on my selection tool, and
Okay.
now what? So
Over
I've
here.
selected the box with the text.
I
So-
prefer to start from a different place. Nothing here is very intuitive. Nothing is very intuitive. So let's go and do something else. I'm going to go over here on the left side to the color picker. This color picker will give me many more options. So I'm
Okay,
going to
how do I get the text marking into my color picker? Right now I
Oh,
have a no-fill
I had
box in
chosen
there.
text. Here I had frame
Okay,
or
and I
text. And it doesn't
so-
matter which one.
Oh, I
Because
see.
all I'm gonna do is a swatch.
I got it.
So I want it to text, so it doesn't matter if it's to text or to frame right now, because all I'm gonna do is make a swatch of color. It happens to be that I'm
Okay.
gonna play it, but it doesn't, if I had frame, it doesn't matter. But it changes to T or to box
Mhm,
if I have
mhm.
frame. When I double click in here, now I get a color picker, right? And so over here, I can start playing around, and I'm noticing that I'm in the RGB color space, which is kind of weird. Why would I have the RGB when this
Wha-
is a print?
Where did you double click into what?
The box, follow my mouse
Mm-hmm.
way over here,
Yeah,
and the top one, I
okay.
double click, and it
Ah,
gives me
I see.
whatever,
Okay, thank you.
right? So say
Here
that
is sometimes not easy to follow when your eye is not directly on
yeah,
the
that's why I'm
cursor.
like, here, I'm like, there we go, down, 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 and then I kind of do like that, and this is the area, and there. That, there's two little boxes, and double click on that one. And then I can go ahead and I can move this around, and I say I want something that's here. I choose the tone, the hue, and then over here I hear how dark or how light or how bright. So maybe I go over here and I choose it. I could also pick up this, I believe, I might have to do it otherwise in Photoshop. If I click on this eyedropper, I should be able to, nope, it's not giving me the option. Okay, I guess I need to do that in Photoshop. Here, I just need to choose it by the numbers. When I want to choose a color that's very specific, the way I like to do it personally, so I'm gonna cancel, is I want to choose it in the actual
Mhm.
play. I'm trying to get a brown that goes with that, right? So I'm gonna select that photo. I'm gonna go to Photoshop by clicking on Edit Original. Whoops. Edit Original brought me to preview. Oh, interesting. I wouldn't have opened it in Photoshop. That's bizarre. Okay, so I'll go out down to Bridge, and I'll open this one in Photoshop. And here it's a much better, what color, you know, Photoshop is the realm of color. So I'm going to go into this, into Photoshop. This is the image that I'm using, and the color, the beans, or the colors I want it to be, not invent a brown, to be similar to that brown. So then I'll go in here, and yes, in this color picture, when I say in here, I'm like the same exact spot I was there before exists down here in Illustrator and in Photoshop and in InDesign, these two little boxes. So the color picker will, in all three programs, come from this thing when I'm saying down here, these two boxes in the toolbar at the very bottom of the toolbar. So now I'm going to click on the top one, and I'm not going to guess. It happens to be that it's kind of at brown because I had gone there before, but I can start clicking around here with this eyedropper. When I've opened this and I move my mouse into the photo, and then I can start clicking on some, and you see it's choosing. This is what I had before, and now as I click around, it's giving me options and choices, and I'm saying, oh, maybe I like that brown. Say I like that brown, I can add it to the swatches if I want, or I can take these numbers. Or, and this is where I was going to go to libraries. I know it's very last minute to show you, so I can add it to my library. So I'm going to add to swatches and add it to my current library. Now, if you don't have this choice there, it's because you might not have a library made. Do you get this choice or not? So I'm going to do coffee bean Demitas brown. So I gave it a different name. Let me just show you this, and if not, I'm going to enable the library, or show you how to enable the libraries. So what I just did, once again, is I double clicked, made a choice of color, show something, and said add to swatches. But when I said add to swatches, right, it said I could turn this off and then it would just add inside of Photoshop. Or if I say add to my current libraries, right, then it did that. And if I now, for you guys, if you go into, to the libraries, right, right now I'm in Photoshop, but if I go to my libraries anywhere right now, these libraries are inside of the iCloud of the Adobe Cloud. And that is something I can grab from anywhere now. So I just made this in Photoshop. I said add to libraries. I don't even need to care about Photoshop anymore. I can head down to InDesign now. Go to my libraries in InDesign, right? And then I'm going to go, and if you don't have any libraries set up, then it probably went into this generic place at the bottom that says not grouped. I'd have to have you share me. You don't have any libraries I'd need to see, but you probably just have a box that has that name, right? And that's the color it has. So now if I select this text and I click on that, oh, it gave me I need to select the text. And I give it that color. Then I just chose a color in Photoshop. I put it in the library, and then I can bring that color into my InDesign project from that library. Now I have my library set up. I don't know if you do. Can someone tell me if this went into your library or not? And it looks very dark, so let me lighten it so you guys can see that it is actually that brown. It looks almost black. I'll make it a little tint of that anyway, so that you can see that it's a brown. Anyway, did this work for you guys? In Photoshop, choose a color. I'm going to go ahead and go down here and choose a different color now, something totally different, one that we clearly didn't make, a purple, right? Totally different. Add to swatches, and just call this one test purple.
Oh, library.
I'm going to add it to the library. See how it just went into this place called libraries? You probably have to go and open that tab. We're not going to use it in Photoshop, so it doesn't matter, but I'm showing you that it went into this tab called libraries. Amy's saying I already have libraries, so it went into one of your established libraries. Yeah, it'll go into whichever one you're selecting. Since I didn't have one in particular selected, it went into this not grouped general one in my all class libraries. I have my personal libraries and I have these my class libraries, right? So it just went in there. If you don't have any, it'll probably just drop loose. Cool. So Amy answered. Anyone else for whom this didn't work? Oh no, Shelley, I'm sorry to hear that. Your mouse isn't working. Just watch the rest because we're almost done, Shelley, if you need to, so you can get it and then you can do it when you get back. So then the libraries are accessible anywhere. In Illustrator, if I go to my libraries, there's the color. Oh, I have them. I'm looking at them in a different way. There's my libraries, and here's that pink that I just made. Here's that brown that I had made before. I have some other stuff I brought in the past, other colors, but those are the basic two colors I just did in Photoshop. So if I were to want to paint that color, I can do that. If I want to paint this color, I can do that. So now this is a brown based on my photo, but this is the linked file. So if I save now, and I go back into InDesign, that has changed. This used to be a brown that I invented, but now it's a brown based on the same. I have to update, modify. And now, if you notice, this is exactly the same brown. It's a lighter tone of it or darker, but it's the same one that I just put up in Illustrator. So now I can be consistent. Why? Because my library, where I put that color, goes and links all my applications together with resources. SourceArt, I can fonts. Here's the DemiTasse that I think we brought in last time I did this. Is there still from last time, right? So I had chosen that font, I remember now, et cetera, et cetera. So you just leave anything you want in here that you use somewhere else, okay? And I think this is the one I brought last time too, right? I think that's the one I had made. So those of you who are in my class before, this is what I had chosen last time with that color. And I had put it in a library, and there it still is. And I had made like a little set of colors for the DemiTasse postcard that I was using. But there we are. I was able to bring it in. I'm going to just, and that I also picked from the photo, and I had picked it at that time from these tones. You see where I had picked it versus this time I picked it from the bean and from this area right there is where I went to get this color right there. All right. So I went to the original image and picked from that so that I begin to get a nice set of colors that kind of work well with my art instead of inventing a different brown, inventing a different green, or inventing a different something. Anyone who didn't find a color in their library that they made in Photoshop, or anyone who didn't do it at all and wants to see how to do it again? I'm gonna get rid of these because they're not part of this art. Now, since this is gonna be my spread, then when I open up, I see these three. You might think, hey, this is a nice spread, right? Oh, you know, I'll put some text in here and that looks good. But I just want to warn you, there's one problem, one big problem in this design. If I just willy-nilly design it thinking, oh, it's just a spread. Look, I'm going to share for a second this. This is my front cover, right? And what I just designed in my interior is this whole thing that says Demi-Tasse right across, right? From here to here. So over here, I have a big old DE. So what happens if I do like this and I open my front cover, I'm going to see DE. It's like, you know, it won't be something that works with this, whatever I have written in here. You know what I'm trying to say? The inner side, so the inside will be this, sorry, it'll say DE and then it'll hide. The rest of the Demi-Tasse will be in there. So it'll say DE. And then over here, I'll see whatever text that I've got. You know what I'm trying to say? You have to be careful because what I'm going to see when I open this is this part connected to this piece. That's why it would be good to print this out and then fold it and then open it and go, ooh, that looked good on the computer isn't looking good here because I don't want to see D half of an E. That's kind of weird. Does that make sense what I'm showing you here? If it's completely like, what? Let me know. But otherwise, because then I can just start writing. Basically, I would have Demi-Tasse. So in that design that I just made, I'm going to put the shame. I would see DE and half of an M. See that? Over here. So I would have DE and
We can't see your screen.
so I'll open up again I went WW and that is how much I'd see. I'd see the DE and this little chunk of the M if that's what I do. So when I open this up, I'll be seeing whatever I designed in there, but I'll be seeing DE and it'll be hiding because the Demi-Tasse is in this spread. So I'll see like a chunk of an M and that could look kind of weird. It could look perfect or it could look weird. What if the beginning of your word means something that's bad, although the whole word is good? You need to be careful that you're trying to read and it goes in there, it might look disjointed. You want to make sure that if you do that, maybe you also write in this side, the Demi-Tasse, right? You can say, and then it's in the front side. Or you're fine with it, you have something different because you know that this is just a design and they're going to have text here. And when they open it, they'll see the whole Demi-Tasse. I'm just saying, be aware of this mock-up and what is going to be seen. When you open this cover, you're going to see this little bit, right? Together with this backside. So you just need to be aware of what needs to be done. And when you see all these beautiful templates, if they have been designed by a good designer, they already took care of that. But sometimes people just put templates out there, they sell them, and then you actually print them. They really makes no sense because they, you know, they're just kind of churning them out and not making sense. A lot of the times what happens is people design each panel individually. So no matter what, you'll open them up and each one is okay because they work individually. Your text here is separate from text here. But maybe it's not as pretty as if you were able to put a bar of color on the back and make sure that it works. You know what I'm trying to say? That's just more of a whole design sense if you keep an idea of the whole holistic thing versus just making one thing here, one thing there, one thing there. Now, you can choose where do you want to put some of this text. Maybe put the photo. Now I'm just and kind of, I know we're getting almost done, so I'm not very specific. Maybe I put the text in there and I put the photo of the owner. I keep trying to say of the owner here in the back. So I think this is the cafe owner. I bring that one in, and maybe I put her in. No, I can't put her in here this way because that's my address label, right? So if I put her in here, she's got to be small, and maybe that's not a very good way to show her. So then I go, okay, so maybe I'm going to go down and put her photo in the inside, right? So that when you open it up, you hear more of a story of how it works, and you got this whole thing of 15th century, you know, you make this big because clearly you want it more to be more readable. And since this is going to be read as a spread, now you can maybe go through the 2 columns and make this be, I don't know, I'm inventing any font here. But when it's you want to choose either use one or at most 2 fonts. You really don't want to be doing this is too late. You really want to go 3 or 4 different fonts. Choose the same one or one body text and one for like the headlights. But if you're going to do a body text, don't ever choose something, you know, confusing like a script. Let me just make it bigger so you see what I'm choosing. Say I'm using something like that. Don't go with stuff that's really, you know, complicated or whatever. Like, go ahead and choose a font that you like, but that is readable and that it's going to work with, you know, the other information that I have. Now, this is the same font that I used for the logo that I put over here, which maybe worked for a logo, but I'm not sure it works to read all about the history of, you know, coffee. So you got to be, you know, I'm going to move this up here. That's probably not, who's going to want to sit and read it, right? I don't even know what this says right there. So it's, they called what, right? It's too funky and it's not going to be what we call a body copy. So be careful what font you choose. Anyway, I'm going to go and choose anything. You begin to know all your fonts and stuff like that. I'm going to just go with, I'm trying to find a sans serif. Okay, so then I choose that and I'll go back to whatever, a regular font size. 14 is probably too small, 18. And I'm going to bring it down here and resize it and stuff like that, right? And then you bring in the photos, you do whatever you're going to do for the design. I kind of want her up here, in fact. And last time we did a lot of work in Photoshop. Now we went into Photoshop and we modified this this color. Right now, just gonna go with what I have. Just make it a bit smaller. And I'm gonna put the byline in here. But none of this is, so to say, complicated in the sense that it's just body text, right? And I'm going to put a caption in here maybe. And I'm going to have it be on white font because I put it in there in sorry, bring it over. Anyway, I'm just trying to make a box since I was putting it in black. I couldn't see it, so I'm going to select that text and make it paper is what we choose for white in InDesign, right? And then since I won't see it, I need to make sure to move it up here so that I can see it. And then I hit the W and I go, I need to move it around a bit better. I have to add a bit more space, and then make sure of my lines to make sure that I'm inside. Oh, looks like I went over the margin. And then, you know, I bring it up. Anyway, so you keep adapting until it works. ideally you keep lines, you keep guides, which bring things to start. If you put that there, you start it there. You don't have to always do that, but it's good. And then you keep going W and you keep looking at it and going, oops, now I cut her head off, right? And so that'll be in the bleed and so on and so forth. So you just kind of play around with the different choices. Right. How's it going? I don't necessarily want to finish a perfect design to make my point here. I just want to show you how to bring things in from, whoops, from a different place. And in a brochure, you would never do this whole like continue it on the inside, right? It just wouldn't. But if this were the inside, you could consider, just for the inside, right now I have it on the outside, you could consider going double column because people will always see the last two. No matter what you do and how you open it, the last two will always be seen together. There's not a possibility where, unless people fold it wrong, right? So these last two could be treated as one thing if you want for art, the bottom side, not the one, not up here where I'm doing it here. I would have to have it be only one. And then I'll hit the W to make sure that I'm in the right place for my font. And then that said, that I don't think this picture works with that. Maybe I'll go over here and make this be a whole spread about, you know, about coffee, right? And so when people open it, they'll learn more about coffee. Maybe I have some more coffee photos in here. But most importantly, I'll have my address, my open hours, my close hours, my location, maybe a little map, right? To have people know how to get to me. All right. I'm kind of gonna stop and get some questions or feedback from you guys. Things that I did too fast and you want me to do again. Things that you would like for your design and you don't know how to do it. Thoughts that you're having, you know, like when Monica said, how do I change the color of this? You know, anything.
Yeah, I'm actually still stuck at that. So,
Okay, so why don't you share? And I'll help
yes.
you. Okay,
Hey,
so this one is inside of Illustrator.
this is
yeah?
Illustrator, and I would like to make this black into whatever other color. At this
Okay.
point, I don't
So
particularly care
you-
what it will be.
You need to select it first. So select your shape.
Right.
Cool. Now go to your properties panel on the right side,
Mhm.
and then sample prompts.
I know
Text.
this is an unusual look. that
Yeah,
I haven't been in Illustrator in a while, so this is new.
yeah.
But
Okay,
maybe
that's okay. Let's do this. Go to the left side where you make your colors. Oh, there it is. There's the appearance. Okay, I see it. You just, okay,
Where?
got it. Go to the right side to the properties panel. Yeah, and then at the very bottom of that
out there.
panel,
Mhm.
see there's a question mark on the fill because it has more than one color. So click on the little question mark for the word fill. Yeah, and that'll show you the panels. Go to the of those two choices there, the little palette. See if you can see. There's
This?
two. No, on right above that. Yeah, there's a little thing that looks like a painter's palette. Click on that.
Mhm.
And let's see. No, it's still not giving you colors. Okay, so you're gonna have to go up to the very top where you see some color gradients. Go up, 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 up out of that one.
Mhm.
Yeah, over there. Put your mouse and click around. And you could, yeah, click on with that arrow and click on a different color. Yeah,
Go.
click on that.
See,
And
now it does the background.
okay, because it's joined. Okay, so it's grouped. So go ahead and undo that. Command Z, and you need to ungroup this. So go
Okay.
up to the top where you see the word object, and then you can ungroup.
Object. Oh, object.
Yeah, you're working with someone else's art and you need
Yeah.
to, so go ahead, and group. Good, now
Okay.
click away with your mouse on the empty area and now go select only the black. Something that's just, or even better, click on the white space. Actually, I have one better. Click right there. Yeah, click in there, which is that white space. Click on that.
Uh-huh.
Just click.
Yeah. I click. Nothing's
Oh,
happening.
so I've given you a background. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, select it again, the coffee. No, not that way. Click just on the black. I want just the black, right on the black. Put your mouse on any black piece.
Yeah, I clicked on something black. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
unclicking,
let's-
I'm clicking back on the black.
And let's hope it's ungrouped well enough. Maybe you
Well,
have it.
maybe I
Yeah,
say
you might-
ungroup again. There we
Yeah,
go.
you have groups inside of groups. Yeah.
Okay, so
so-
it's basically the image that I'm working with is somehow set up in a way
Yeah,
that's not that
but-
easy to recolor.
Go ahead, but trust me, go back into the
Okay.
black and give it a double click. I want to see if you have a. There you go. So that's the thing. You have the bits and pieces separated. It's not one piece.
Mhm,
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. That's what's happening.
mhm.
Right now, you can choose one color. Go ahead and go to the left side where you have the place that I showed you before, the color picker.
Mhm.
Yeah, double click on that. And then go choose any color. Just choose a color.
Okay.
Say okay to that,
Mhm.
right? And then we're gonna add it as a swatch so that you can keep using it. So go over to where it says appearance fill. Now it shows like a little green spot on the bottom right.
Uh-huh.
Click on that. Double click on the fill.
Wait, hold on. I'm
On the
having
little
this
on the little orange square. Yeah, you have zoom in there.
Mhm.
Click on the orange square itself. Yeah. And then now go back to swatches, which is the first, like the left side. Yeah. And then let's add this as a swatch. Plus sign. Yeah. Just say okay. Just say okay. Yeah. It's the only one that's coming up. And now you can go and double click on each one of those little parts and pieces, which because it was grouped, they were created separately. Double click and then double click. Yeah. And color it.
no, that
you-
didn't work.
To double click. Double click. Oh, it's even little bits and pieces.
Yeah, it's annoying.
The designer made it with many different, so anyway,
Yeah.
keep going. You can go to the fill and, you know,
Okay.
go to the right side and fill it with orange. But right now, just to see if this worked, go ahead and, go ahead and Command S to save, and then just go into your InDesign to see if you got at least this much. Then you can go and select each little bit and piece. Whoever designed this broke it down into.
Yes,
that's how you would
okay.
put it in design. Since you save, make sure you save it first, and then go into InDesign and see if this color pops up as much as you did.
Nope.
Right, so I don't see InDesign. You're only sharing Illustrator with me.
Oh, sorry. New
Does it
share.
work?
Okay. Stay in design.
As long as it works for you, that's okay. But yeah,
Nah,
okay.
it didn't work, but
Okay, yeah,
it's okay.
if you say- But
Yeah.
go to the links. Don't just say it's okay. Go to the links, and
ah,
if you saved it, oh. Nope. It should say that it's been modified.
mhm.
This
Yeah.
one seems to say that it's not been modified.
It's okay. I
Second
think I got the idea of how to proceed, so maybe I'll practice with
You
something
got a
else.
complicated illustration, right?
Yeah.
So they're
Okay.
breaking it up.
Okay,
But
thank
yeah,
you.
You're welcome. So go in and change all the bits and pieces, save it again. Once all the pieces are changed, it should, if it's the right one that's been brought in, it should have saved. There's a possibility that you downloaded it twice and you're working on a different one. I don't know. But if
Maybe,
not,
yeah.
change it. It should be the right one.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Amy, for what you said. Great. And yeah, it's a beginning. I did go deep. So Mark, I know that it went way over, and this wasn't an easy class to start with at all. If you're interested in knowing a little bit about each program individually, maybe take individually Photoshop or individually Illustrator, right? And then this one, I
Absolutely.
put it out together, right? But it's a
Mhm.
great beginning and an opening and a going, wow, this is possible. And then
Yep.
you begin to work individual on each piece. Like Monica just had to go into Illustrator, change the color, and she kind of forgot that. Well, how do we change the color in Illustrator? The more you do it, you begin to remember and you put it all together, right? So yeah, each thing has its own possibilities and complexities. But yeah, wonderful. Congratulations for being here. Like you said, you have all winter break now to slowly begin to parse it out. Yeah, and I'd love to see you in other places and keep supporting your learning journey. Same with Monica and Moni. The only ones who are left here at this point. And yeah, unless you
Thank
have
you.
anything else, have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. I might see some of you guys in the Illustrator class tomorrow. Other than that, I'll see you again in sometime in January, February, March, whenever you take another class. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome.
Bye.
Bye, guys. So nice to see both my MOs. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.